scored. Touchdown, Rebels.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com.
Nussmeier looking for Thomas. He's got him. Touchdown, LSU.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Texas back in Bama territory. Ewers from the pocket. Now he'll loft one downfield. A ton of air running underneath it. Worthy's got it for a touchdown.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Arnold, tempo, back corner, off the count, touchdown, Jaden Gibson.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
First play, second quarter, touchdown, Tennessee.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Cook pumps, throws, Burden in space. That's where you want him to get the football, and he takes it to the house.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
And here we go on this Wednesday afternoon. As you see in the wide shot, I'm over here at this desk, and in front of where I broadcast is a beer keg. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoke on the set. Who's the pizza, Paul?
It is Southern Roots brought us the beer and the pizza. The beer is Alico, their Alico Ale, which is delicious. It's one of my favorite local beers here.
Well, it
so
better be.
Yeah, they also have our location out in Waxahachie as well. So Southern Roots, great pizza, wonderful, locally brewed craft beer, and that is in a few minutes what I will be drinking.
Okay, are we going to do headlines first?
I mean, we can do it. Let's do a couple and then warm up into it. I mean, I'm a little. I'll just tell you now that the moment's here, I'm a little nervous.
Remember when I went up? It was up in, golly, I can't remember, north of I-30, and I was going to do a parachute jump, but it was overcast. I was ready.
Yeah,
I was ready. I mean, that was a moment where I was like mentally ready. But okay, so Paul's going to do a beer keg here momentarily here.
Going to do a beer keg. In honor of 50,000 followers.
Yeah, we got to tell everybody.
The whole point of this entire endeavor was we were kind of hanging around the 40s, I guess, even high 30s, whatever it was at the time, and kind of went on a push for getting to 50,000, and that happened when Paul threw this out there like 10,000 away or something, or 9,000 away.
I think it was even further than that.
I don't know. It was somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in about 5 weeks, we got all 10,000 plus that we needed to get to 50,000. So this happened a lot quicker than he expected it to. We got to get to 100 for me to do a show without my ball cap on here. So I'm feeling good. I'm not worried about that for a while. Hopefully we get there quicker than we think, like with Paul's ordeal, but it does kind of seem like he threw that out there, and you blink, and here we are, and he's about to do it. So
yeah, we've shot past it, as a matter of fact.
No, we did. We blew right through it. It's 53
so,
plus now.
But you just didn't think this was going to happen as quickly as it
did. I thought we were going to be doing this in like late September.
Yeah.
Like that's what I thought we were going to do, and so. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people on the chat room are excited.
Here we are. We are, smack in the middle of July.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you underestimate people.
Yeah. No, everybody, keg stand from MC Gusto. We can go all through it. Retired stockbroker, Clint Moses, Jack McKenzie. Let's see. Paxton, Paul, do you have a buzz going on, a pre-buzz?
No, the only thing that I've had is I had to test, just for my own edification, the water pressure coming out of the keg. Mm-hmm. So I had a quick little, 2 second,
Yeah, there was spillage.
Yeah, well, that was Emery and I'm surprised. I haven't put a tap in a keg since the last time I did a keg stand. Emery, I would have think, being 22 years old, would have done it more recently. But
Emory goes home to a keg.
Yeah, I just thought that like Emory was my guy here. It probably should have been Jack. We had the pressure valve down instead of up, and that caused a little bit of a mess. But we've since cleaned it up so it doesn't smell like the Kappa Alpha Theta house.
Yeah, it does. It does have a little smell in here. I can tell it's on the carpet. We'll need to get that cleaned.
Yeah.
The good news is it's a lot smaller than I expected. Like I normally, for some reason, I just had in my head. I think because you had like the big wooden barrel. You know what? I was thinking more of like that in my head for some reason rather than just like a regular keg. So I was thinking of it being like to like waist height, but no, that's a lot more manageable. So
Xavier,
that'll be good.
Yeah, Xavier drinking on the job, retired stockbroker. Who is holding Paul up? There should be an Aggie light bulb joke in here somewhere from retired stockbroker.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be Emory and Jack. I mean, somebody's got to run the show, but we'll see. I mean, there's 3 people available, but Garrett's got to run the camera.
Yeah, I'm busy over here. I'm just here for the show.
MC Gusto, can't wait to watch
I was just told that Kappa Alpha Theta is a sorority, so if their house smells like beer, then they're pretty badass. I'll just tell you that right now.
Hey, man, girls drink beer. Yeah. Girls drink more beer than guys sometimes.
So you had what? 2 pieces of pepperoni pizza?
I had one, just one.
Okay, good. I got one over here. I was very hungry. Drink, and fight. All sports. Was it all sports? One of our all pro sports are scripted. Greetings from Interstate A4. Everybody, I'm headed to Boise for my little self reboot. Good for you.
There you go.
I'm hoping to get one of those in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I need a little self reboot, so enjoy yours. Yeah, before everything goes crazy.
So guess what today is?
By the way, I need to welcome a new sponsor, Cold Break. And go to coldbreak.com. I'll put the link in the thing. We don't have the graphic done yet.
Okay.
But they sell kegerators.
There you go.
For your tailgate. So
good timing. Good timing with them. So today, 3 years ago, when all hell broke loose. Today, 3 years ago, Greg Sankey even bringing that up today, that it was 3 years ago at about this time, this might have been a couple of hours ago, when the story by Brett Zerneman broke that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving for the SEC. A&M was like, I think he might have the wrong information. And, of course, it was true, and here we are today. They're Texas at Big 12 Media Days. Tomorrow will be A&M. Yesterday was Oklahoma.
Okay, so now this makes it like that it's this week, SEC Media Days, and it's in Texas. Makes it feel like even more planned out, like more of a dart thrown at the Big 12 for this. So, but it is it's been 3 wild years in college athletics.
And as we've seen with Nick Saban retired, we mentioned it was 240 different coaches and staffers that were 400 and some 20 or so that were affected. And when Texas, Oklahoma started, it eventually, we know it led to probably about 24, right? Schools that have changed positions.
Yeah, I think
8
that's
into the Big 12, and of course the Pac-12 had some go to the Big 10. The ACC added some, and of course the SEC added those 2.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger deal than the personnel and all of the players and all of that moved around. I mean, that's going to happen with just coaching changes. This was outright whole conference changes that were directly a result of this. Now, if you want to say, well, technically Missouri going to the SEC or one of those prior moves, A&M to the SEC, one of those things was really the beginning of this stage of realignment. I guess go for it, but I think this is a nice, clean starting point of this era of the last 3 years was this announcement right here, and then shortly after USC and UCLA, and then the Big 12 goes after the G5s and the American Athletic Conference in particular, and then, so on and so forth. That's continued to be an evolution and still is in some ways. I know there's, a lot of talk about what's next off of that, but that all directly, too, stems from Texas and Oklahoma. So, I'm still curious of how that would have gone down had Brent Zwerneman not been tipped off. Do they wait another year to announce that? Do they wait 2 years and then lead the Big 12 in a lurch where they don't have any teams to go and get, and they really are up S Creek without a paddle, and there is no Brett Yormark to swoop in as the new hire because it's all for naught anyways, because there's, the the whole battlefield's a lot different if the timing isn't what it is of you finding out. If you find out a year or two later, then it might be too late to have done anything about it, and the Big 12 dies rather than the Pac-12. So there's a lot of what-ifs with that. Fortunately for a lot of schools and a lot of the conference, the Big 12 conference fans, not so much fortunately for Pac-12 fans in certain schools, it worked out well for you in the long run. But, yeah, that was a monumental day, a monumental report, and it shook up the entire sport, and not just football, in all of college sports. And here we are 3 years later, and look at all that's different just from that moment on, like y'all were saying. So it's crazy. Brent Zwerneman with the scoop of a century, and, yeah, now they're all settled in, and they're, hanging out with the SEC at media days, and it's a new era. So what a time that was. And I don't know what would have happened with this show. I'm confident we would have been around, but in terms of just the way we are looked at and the way some people look to us for certain things, like, would that have been the case had it not been for how that all happened? Probably not. It would have happened differently.
Salt Lake City is the 6th-ranked market of our viewership. The 6th-ranked market. And without BYU and Utah in this conversation the last 4 years, who knows how much of that would be true. By the way, it was 55 days after Texas and Oklahoma, the story broke, that the Big 12 added 4 teams. It was on September the 10th of that year. So on July 17th of 2021, Texas, Oklahoma, that story pops. And the Big 12, in less than 2 months, announced that they had voted to add 4 schools on September 10th of that same year.
Yeah, and you got to love the way Sankey always positioned that so that he's not the bad guy. Well, we didn't call them. They called us, and it wasn't us. We didn't do anything. And then to go on and be and moan about some of the realignment and, the people basically just trying to survive because of the after effects of a move that he took part in, I think is just laughable. And that's why, as good as he may be at his job, as smart of a man as he might be, like, we're not stupid, pal. Like, you had a hand in everything that's happened. You can't deny that. I don't care how much you want to say, well, they called me, I didn't call them. You still had to reciprocate on the other end of that phone line. And you did what anybody would have done and what anybody would do right this very moment. You did the absolute best, most exciting move possible for your conference. But it just leaves his words a little hollow when I hear him complaining about tradition and, disruption and things like that. It's like, buddy, it didn't start with you. But this little chapter absolutely started with a move that you had a hand in. So, like, that's undeniable. So,
he's the Teflon man. He is why, I don't know why we weren't credentialed by the SEC, but I got a feeling, I think it was like something we started to say, not that Dunlap, who's the SID or media guy for the conference, but something got back to him.
Greg Stanky, is it when I called him that?
Yeah, that was.
I called him Kim Jong-Sankey.
Kim Jong-Sankey.
When I called him Greg Snaky?
But Brett McMurphy, yesterday when I reached out to him, I said, hey, come on the show. He goes, where are you guys at? I said, we're not there. I told him. He goes, what? So they're going to be in Atlanta next year.
We actually applied, and we got turned down. I know they have like 1,500 people there, which is just ridiculous. That's like 100 people a school in a big conference like that. So that's why do we always hear about them? Part of it's the winning. Part of it's also they're like 95% of the college football media is within that footprint. But, yeah, there's a big crowd out there.
Well, and, quite frankly, what's popular,
right. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that cover them. So, quite frankly, after last week, I don't think we're all sweating the fact that we're not up in Dallas. I think we would have all been like dragging. It would have been fun for a couple days.
Well, it would have been today and tomorrow. It would have been today.
Yeah, we would have caught our breath a little bit, but that would have been quite the turnaround for sure.
All right, so there's that story. That was 3 years ago today when really all hell broke loose. There had been some other defections over the years, but that was the one that was wow. Blake Shapen.
Can I throw in a Sankey quote I just saw?
Go ahead.
That Paul will love. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey on 1010XL. Georgia was one of the best 4 teams in the nation and didn't get in the playoff, but you can see us jumping up and down and complaining and hanging national championship banners.
Oh, my God.
No, you can't get upset. You're about to...
That drink's going to come in just right in time. Just take that edge off.
Oh, my God.
You can't because you're about to have beer in you, and you can't... and you know what? We can argue. I mean, he's a very even-keel man. He's
that is something you just don't need to say, Greg.
It took us less than 15 minutes to mention Florida State.
Oh, my God. I didn't even do it.
You didn't have to.
I didn't even do it. It's just like Okay, well, they lost to Alabama. You can't have everybody, Greg.
Right.
You can't have everybody.
Well, no, yeah, you can.
Well, I mean,
He's sure as heck trying to, yeah.
They can. Yeah, they can. All right, so Blake Shapen, former Baylor quarterback, is now at Mississippi State, was asked earlier today at SEC Media Days about playing in the SEC.
Bit of a learning curve when it comes to the heightened talent that you'll play against in the SEC?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about it, we played some SEC teams whenever I was at Baylor too. But yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, it's the best conference in football. So I mean, this is where everybody wants to play. This is where the best of the best play. So I'm sure there's going to be a step up when it comes to talent, things like that. Probably coaching, maybe in some areas. So I mean, it's the best conference to play in.
Did you watch a lot of SEC games, even though you were at Baylor?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, anytime we weren't playing or if we're waiting to play and there was an SEC game on, I would always watch it.
All right, so there's Blake Shapen earlier today at Media Days. He also mentioned he worked out with Dak Prescott over the summer and how much that helped him tighten up whatever he was trying to get better at.
He ought to have a
with that.
heck of a regular season then.
They'll fall apart in the postseason. Yeah.
No, I mean, I wish Blake all the best. He was, a good player here and nice enough guy just from the media interactions that we were able to have. Definitely a bit closed off, kind of shy, which I related to that, and I totally understood that. And, seemed like a young man just trying to do his best, and it just didn't work out here ultimately. He had some good moments, though, for sure. Had some bad moments, and, it led him to Starkville and to Jeff Lebby, oddly enough. So, that's an offense where it seems like he could really do some damage, but it is, the SEC to the point of the quote there, and it's a step up in competition just, week to week, and I'm fascinated. Just the marriage there between he and Lebby and that offense and Blake and his health in general, playing in that league. I'm very interested. He's not their long-term answer, obviously, but he's the one that's getting them off, to a start. So, very curious to see Blake Shapen at Mississippi State.
Jalen Milroe was asked a question, obviously one heck of a player, about the amount of quarterbacks that come out of the state of Texas. His quote was, with all the resources that's provided in the state of Texas, big stadiums, great coaching staffs, the weight rooms are outstanding. A lot of factors for the performance of quarterbacks, and, of course, the state of Texas has flooded college football for the last several years. I go back to when they first started playing 7-on-7 back in maybe the 90s. I think it was about that time when you started to see teams start play, high school kids start to do that in the summer, and so a nice compliment to the state of Texas when it comes to high school football with Jalen Milroe. All right, Billy Napier, hot seat. You think he's a hot seat?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Change doesn't happen overnight. Ultimately, timing is everything, right? When we took the job, what we inherited, the work that needed to be done, I think we're on schedule to some degree.
Yeah, the problem is you're in a place that's not going to wait around for you because they're used to being the upper echelon, and they're not that. And I could argue pretty successfully, I think Garrett might back me up on this, that they're worse than they were under Dan Mullen right now.
They're on par.
I mean, like Dan Mullen he didn't want to recruit anymore. Like, and Georgia in particular was kicking his butt. And that's a big rival, and that was going on. Dan didn't want to do that anymore. He's fantastic on television, so he made a great life choice. But for the University of Florida, it's been tough because he did set him behind a year, but this is the third year that Billy Napier has been there. So if he doesn't show any growth by now, then I think we know what's going to happen. But I think to say that they're on schedule, when you're still a year away from DJ Lagway reasonably starting and all that, I think you're maybe a little bit behind it because I would think that your schedule was that Jaden Rashada was going to be your starter this year, and that didn't work out.
You used the word schedule. That's
what he did. Yeah.
I'm talking about the games, who they have to play.
Yeah, they got a really tough schedule. You got a young quarterback. If Lagway's the majority of who we see there, I guess it could be Graham Mertz instead, right? But Lagway's the guy that they're really propping up to be the next big thing. So I could see where that alone gets him like another year if this is like okay enough just based on the schedule being as tough as it is. You know what I mean? Like having just a middle of the road kind of a year, but seeing enough and like, oh, we got Lagway and we are going to hit the portal and we're going to hit NIL and our schedule will ease up. And I can see how you talk yourself into another year after this. But, like, yeah, he's getting towards the end of, like, he's got to start proving some stuff. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be this year or bust. But he's got to show a little something this year to be, you know, in a good percentage place to come back for yet a fourth year. But, I mean, there was Dan Mullen. They went 10-3 in 18, 11-2 and won the Orange Bowl the next year. They had won the Peach Bowl in that 10-3 year. So you had back-to-back 10-plus win 10-plus win seasons, Peach Bowl, Orange Bowl wins, and then Mullen had that 8-4 year, followed by a 6-7 year, lost a couple bowl games, and then here's Napier, who's 6-7, 5-7. So it's been about a 4-year stretch where you had Mullen start going the sliding downwards, and then Napier's just kept it steady at, like, basically bowl eligibility. So that's kind of the marker right now, and we'll see if he can get at least to that point. If he does, you think he'd be safe.
We'll get to the other stuff in a little bit. We also have a response from Adam Rittenberg on Sankey's comment about Georgia. What's the point of this comment? Delaney didn't talk like that when Penn State finished 5th. He also lobbied heavily for Alabama and got what he wanted. Talking about the Sankey quote today.
No, it's just him being a jerk. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. There's no reason for that to put it in the wound. And, you know, I mean, as far as I know, FSU hasn't raised a banner. Maybe I'm wrong.
God help them if they only have like 3 that make the 12. Yeah. All right, now.
Yeah. All right.
Are we going to break first?
No, let's go ahead and do it and break.
All right. Who is doing what? You're going to get on your head.
I'm just here.
Yeah.
Can I read this note from Amanda? Can I read this text from Amanda? Should I read it before, Paul? If Paul bruises himself or his ego, I don't want to hear about it. He is your responsibility.
Okay, well.
There you go.
We're taking care of him, Amanda.
All right.
As you can clearly see. Does it need to be pumped or anything? Or do you got it? All right.
Dear
Let's
God.
go, buddy.
Go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's it.
Five.
Tap, tap.
And a little bit of foam
he said
afterwards.
some foam.
And a little bit of foam afterwards. Too much foam, he said. That's what I was asking about. Like,
wait a minute.
I was asking if y'all had it set up properly.
Do we need to do it again when we get?
I think so. I think you got to clear some of the foam out.
Dude, they were in here. They pumped the foam out for like a few minutes, man. They tried.
Wait a minute.
It was delicious.
So Pre-Pro did their job.
The Pre-Pro did their job.
I'm just making sure here.
Yeah.
5. It is not 15.
I don't think it got to 5.
Well, because we stuttered our counting because...
Well, there's an echo.
There was an echo, and I should have been saying Mississippi afterwards to get the proper full 1 second count.
I'm not a bit, like 5 seconds is...
All right.
Paul is...
we were talking 30 seconds yesterday.
15.
So wait a minute.
5 seconds.
I thought a keg stand is if you're absolutely straight up in the air on your head.
I think if they did that, there'd be the risk of like he just flipped over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to give him a little bit of an angle so that there's enough balance.
Jack and Emery, both of you need to come on camera. Your guilty ass looks in your face. Who snorted?
Oh.
Who just snorted?
I did.
Yeah, Garrett did.
Okay.
That just happened so much quicker than I expected. It was just like he went up and then
Me too.
Yeah, we just started counting.
It just happened.
Yeah. The chat room.
So if we had put bets on this, and I said 15, I mean,
I'm sorry, bang the under.
When I left yesterday,
I'm ashamed.
When I left yesterday, I was practicing counting in my head, and I was like, "Wow, 15's a lot, man!
Yeah.
Like 1 Mississippi and 2 Mississippi." And I didn't even do that right on this go around here. We just started randomly counting, but 5, that's nowhere close.
Retired stockbroker Barry Crawford. Super chats just because.
They said $1 a minute. They said $1 or $1 a second,
okay.
$1 a second.
$5 each.
Yeah.
Donating nickels.
Laugh my ass off. Paul, let's go. Must see TV. Yes. LMAO.
Here.
He's Italian. He might
put it in the coffee cup. Yeah. Fill that bad boy up. But that foam, man.
Uncle Paul.
Definitely a problem. You can see it on top of the coffee mug there.
This should be the top 5, but we get a full show of Tipsy Paul.
It'd be top 5 of 1 for every second that he was doing the keg stand.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me to do it. I don't drink beer. I really don't. I don't. It's very rare for me. If I'm on a golf trip, which I haven't been in a couple of years, On the second round of the afternoon, I might have a beer in the last hole or two, a cold Coors Light or something like that. What the holy from Wet Blanket?
Yeah.
I'm not doing it, boys and girls. Good effort, Paul.
Yeah.
It was a good effort, I guess. I mean, you tried.
Look, it just happened so quick.
It just happened. I mean, like, as soon as that pump, that foam, like I had to the foam filled up my cheeks. So if it was a little less foamy, I probably could have done like 3 more seconds, to be honest with you, max. But the foam filled my cheeks so fast, so I had to like slurp that down. And then like the actual beer came out, and because like the foam was here, it like kind of like knocked into it. There was some chemistry inside my body that, again, I haven't felt since 2002 or 3.
I was going to say, what does 19-year-old Paul think of what he just saw?
So wait a minute.
19-year-old Paul would call me a bitch. That's what he would do.
Yeah, no, but you primed it, but there was still foam at the top.
I probably needed to prime it again, but we had just primed it like at probably about 258, 259.
Yeah, right. Emery's in here sucking it down.
They did, they did what they were supposed to do. It's just, it wasn't even so much that you were so quick as far as the 5 seconds, but just the whole act. Like, he just went boom, up, boom, here we go.
Like, I'm impressed with the strength of Jack and Emery.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to you guys. That was like part of the planning out phase of like, how does this get done? And that actually was pretty smooth. It's just that you were nowhere close to 15 seconds.
No, I wasn't. Two or three Paul lifts is like a whole word. Like, they can plan workouts around that. There's going to be, you know what? Here's what it's going to be. This is going to be your new workout if you're really getting into getting strong.
Dude, all you
and
do,
a buddy are going to pick me up. Yeah. That's what you're going to do.
All you got to do is throw a little like music and little flashy graphics, and you can be like the pre-ad to a YouTube video with Paul's like, party workout system, and he's like doing keg stands or helping lift people up is part of your workout. But hey,
thank you.
You did it.
All right.
Thank you to Southern Roots.
Yeah, that's good. And the pizza's delicious.
And to Cold Break, but Southern Roots. And thank you to Retired Stockbroker for what is now a beer mug.
Yeah. No. I've been using the heck out of mine as well. So, appreciate my Dragon mug.
When Craig at 100,000 takes a show without a hat on, which will be monumental.
Yeah.
I think we should do another.
No. I'm retired from Texas. I'm perfectly willing to do something else. In the rule of Ocean's 11, you don't do the same gag again, you do another gag. I'll do that, but this one, it was a little cold at home last night.
Make you feel a little mortal?
Yeah, a little cold at home. You read the text.
Yeah, no, I did. And I followed the man law because I wanted to.
I know you wanted to poke the bear a little bit there, but no. And look, I get it.
You told me the bear was already poked.
Yeah, she came from a place of love. I understand it, but
now she's gonna be like,
and let me
5
tell
seconds,
you,
really, Paul?
Here's something I learned. Like if when I told you I'm going to do a keg stand at 50,000, and you were like, you're not going to do a keg stand, I'm like, yeah, I am. You'd be like, all right, good deal. She told me, no, you're not. And I was like, I thought it was like, no, you're not.
Oh, no, you're not.
I thought it was like that. And so then yesterday when she's like, well, when I told you a couple times that I don't, like, you're not doing this, I was telling you you're not doing this. And my brain is like, oh, yeah, I thought you were kidding.
No.
I thought it was like one of those things.
It was that awkward thing.
Yeah.
Good old communication.
Yeah, so do you think Amanda would beat your ass on this right here with the 5 seconds?
No, absolutely not. No.
Do you mean like as far as like beat him as far as how long he went?
Stand?
Or as far...
Oh, no, absolutely not. She's probably never done one.
Hey, man, I haven't done one in 20 years. I can't imagine what it'd be like to just do that out of the blue. Like,
I don't know, like, if it's the beer I just, like, sucked down, which is only 5 seconds, so it can't really be that.
No.
Or it's the, being upside down and not being right side up. But
I think that has something to do with it.
I'm a little bit.
Paul's feeling good, people.
Yeah, I don't know that good.
Yeah, everybody
good
here.
Would be,
there's a lot of.
Let me tell you about Florida State and Greg Sagan, okay?
Listen, Sankey, you son of a, I don't know. Yeah.
A lot of people, the 5 seconds is a letdown.
I'm sure it is. I'm like, here's the thing. I'm not embarrassed because there's no way to practice for this in your 40s.
Yeah.
I can't just go out and get a keg and then, sit there doing it. I mean,
all right.
It's just not something that's going to happen in my life. So
I really thought you were about to just toss it out here all over me in the table. But okay, so
for a second I thought when the air.
When you had the foam dripping out, you were like you had rabies or something like that.
Yeah.
When we come back.
Well, congratulations on 50,000, boys.
50,000 plus.
Thanks to the fans. And Paul followed up and did what he promised. And so I'll do the same in 55 or 1,000 or whatever, 45,000 more followers.
It won't take as long to get to 100 to get to 50.
And I'll just walk in one day and won't have a hat on once we get to that point. But, glad that you got that knocked out. I'm sure that's a relief. And
yes, I've been Garrett, I was pacing a little bit.
Attacks.
I was pacing a little bit because I was like, man, all
right,
this could be. I'll take the fact that I got to 5. That was my bottom rung. So I'm glad I got to the bottom rung of the ladder. I was hoping to do 15. Wasn't going to happen. That was all too optimistic. But
it's been a
Kim Coulter
bad year
of
not meeting expectations for Florida State.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so when we come back, Rob Bolton, the British Open, the Open Championship starts tomorrow. But we got a couple of more stories to get to, including one from Alabama offensive lineman Tyler Booker. Break here, come back with that. We'll do that. This is 365 Sports.
It's the heat of summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker or oven. Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go out and eat? Be your own chef. Custom ordered, cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips. Focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Fresh seafood, salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, live lobsters, and great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every meal or occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pastas, fresh baked bread, buns and chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal, and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. The best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, here for you in the community, helping avoid the long lines and crowded stores. Serving quality local products to the Waco community and beyond. Go online for more of the weekly values on their Facebook page. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Make this the summer of Ram at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive home in a 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star for just 2.9% for 72 months, with no payments for 90 days. Plus, first responders get an extra $500 off at Allen Samuels.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at Baylor.edu/alumni.
Let the journey to financial brilliance begin with Genco's limited time offers. Max your earnings with a Kasasa cash account and get paid monthly with a 4.25 APY. That's $425 annually. Then invest in a 13-month share certificate and earn 4.9 APY. That's $529. Earn cash and outshine the rest. At Genco, we offer you the sun and the moon. Kasasa based on average daily balance of $10,000. Certificate based on $10,000 investment. See GencoFCU.org for details. NCUA.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Pat Smith, Cedric Golden, Sam Kahn still to come on this show, and two of them are up in Dallas at SEC Media Days, and Pat Smith is anchoring at WJOX in Birmingham, a massive sports station. He's been anchoring their coverage from there, but being there for all the interviews, he'll join us today, too. Also, a little bit later on in the show, we'll have Rob Bolton on the British Open Championship. We have to make our picks in the next segment. How about this from Alabama offensive lineman Tyler Booker? Nick Saban not picking Alabama. He picked Georgia and Texas. That's the popular pick to play for the SEC title game. He always said, don't let some guy who lives in his mom's basement determine how you feel. I'm not going to let a guy who plays golf all day determine how I feel. So a pretty nice little pop. Now, there's a follow-up to that, because this was from Chris Hummer. He goes, I didn't fit it all in the 240 characters, but Booker also qualified that joke with, he'd get mad at me if I felt a way about what he said, because or in other words, he would be upset if he didn't say it that way. So
okay, yeah, I didn't understand what that second part meant really, but yeah, that provides some clarification, and yeah, that's a funny line. I'm sure that there's a lot of fun poking from his former players now that he's not their head coach, that they can. And I'm sure he was fun about that to begin with to some certain extent, but now especially, like, you're not in charge of us anymore. Like, you probably still feel that way to some extent, but yeah, you can poke a little bit with old Saban. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. And, I mean, shoot, him just being there is like one of the headlines of Media Day so far. Yep. I think Greg Sankey maybe just added another one with his Florida State comment, but so far, most of what I've seen outside of just the normal minutia of Media Days is just Nick Saban's here. Nick Saban's here.
Or his
Nick
opinion.
Saban said this.
Opinion.
Or, I just met Nick Saban. I've seen a lot of that, like starstruck folks. And so, yeah, he's definitely got a presence there, even though he's not the head coach at Alabama anymore.
All right, so there are four coaches. There's a lot of new coaches in, of course, NCAA football. But there are four of them who have never been a head coach before. Mississippi State's Jeff Lebby, who came over as offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. Fran Brown, he's at Syracuse. He's been a part of a handful of staffs. UCLA's Deshaun Foster, former UCLA great running back, are the only Power 4 head coaches without any head coaching experience.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting to me in that, well, I mean, it kind of shows the shift in things, right? Where now there's maybe a different path where if you're a Power 4 coordinator, maybe you take Billy Napier is an example. Power 4, Power 5 coordinator for a long time, took a Sun Belt job, did well at Louisiana. Now he's a head coach at Florida. So Lebby, Brown.
Kleiman.
Yeah, Kleiman, yeah. You're a head coach. You're a head coach somewhere else on a non-Power 5 level,
DePore.
Power 4 level, and then you're up. Yeah, so that's the soup of the day when it comes to hiring coaches. But, before it was who's the best defensive coordinator, we'll hire that guy. So,
So, yeah, this is more of the latter, I guess, is that they're this coordinators who it's time for them to become head coaches. Like, what else was Jeff Lebby going to do? How many other places did he need to go and prove that he's a worthwhile candidate to be a head coach? He's an offensive coordinator in a lot of different places, and yeah, most recently Oklahoma. And I don't know, that didn't fit quite right. That was his alma mater. A lot to do about, him coming back. They had some good moments, but it just never felt like it was that operating to peak capacity. I think part of that was just Jeff's, it's time for him to go get a head job. And so Ole Miss being in the SEC to start off with, going and getting Blake Shapen. I don't think much is expected of them this year, but I do think that's an interesting wrinkle to watch, play out this year is just what they look like under his first-year leadership and all of that. And then Fran Brown, another guy who I think he's done about all he can do. When you're sitting there helping run the defense at Georgia, like, where else are you supposed to go before it's finally time for you to become a head coach, Was with Matt Rule for years and years, went off on his own, ends up with Georgia and having some good years there. So I think it was time for him. And, Deshaun Foster, another guy you hear a lot of really good things about. The move to the Big Ten at UCLA, it's going to be intriguing because that's not a job that has huge expectations per se. But obviously they want to win. And so Deshaun Foster's a guy that you've heard a lot of really good things about. So, yeah, some of this next wave of, coordinators, big-time assistants turned head coaches. We're going to witness that with these three guys this year. And, odds are one of them, if not two or three of them, will hit. And we'll see who kind of sticks and becomes those names we're talking about for years to come.
Craig, while you were talking, Saxman with a super chat. So appreciate him. Well, Paul, you are our beach.
I think we know what that means. But, yeah, I'm happy to say it. By the way, we have video review. We've gone to the video, like the Kentucky Derby. Confirmed. Emory confirmed. 7.18 seconds.
Oh, stop.
Hey.
Bringing in boxing judges here.
Yeah, there we go. 7.18 seconds.
I actually can believe that. It's still half of what you thought. But but despite that, the counting was messed up. Like, we didn't, because that's what I was saying, was it happened so quickly where he was just up and then drinking that I was like, 1, and then you kind of like echoed me, and then it was 2, and I should have done Mississippi and been in a rhythm, and I think we did short him a couple of seconds. So, if you want to take that as a win, then by all means. But, a couple. I can see that based on the way the counting was done on my end. I should have been better.
Well, we counted,
and I will be better.
We counted in meters rather than in yards. That's what we did. All right, we're going to break here. Sean Snyder has joined the Oklahoma State staff. He, of course, has been a part of that pipeline at Kansas, head coach, special assistant to the head coach in 2023, of course, of the great Bill Snyder lineage. He has now joined the staff with Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State with both punting and kicking, so in a special teams type of way.
Well, I'm glad you followed up with the Bill Snyder comment and didn't just leave it of he's been at Kansas and then not say anything about K-State or Bill Snyder. But, yeah, he comes from that background and, a name of interest certainly for Mike Gundy and their special teams units that's familiar with a lot of Big 12 folks. So good for him, good for the Cowboys.
So Paul had apparently had one left of a red flag to throw on the floor to get a review, and it's just over 7 seconds. It's still – I'm not going to comment on it because I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do that. I don't know if I could just chug one beer myself anyway. So, all right, you glad that's over? Ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm ready to move on with my life. It's been hanging over my head for a little while.
I don't know about if you're moving on with your life. You still have things. All right, we're going to take a break. Paul and Emory, Rob, and I will have our the Open Championship picks. Rob's around the corner. I've got 4 pieces of paper here, wadded up with the numbers 1 through 4. We'll put them maybe in Craig's cap, and so we can all pick.
And
somebody can pick for Rob in the break. Emory will be on the set. We'll look at the Open Championship, and then full throttle. A lot of college football again in the 4 and 5 o'clock hours. This is 365 Sports. Ideal. MRI.com in the Central Texas Marketplace on the southern part of Waco on I-35. In the Central Texas Marketplace, they've got a building. I've been in it 4 times. One time went over there and just took them lunch. Great people. They have state-of-the-art technology MRI machine. The imaging machine is as good as you can get. And on top of that, that means they're going to find out what is bothering you. If your doctor suggested MRI so they can get a better look at your shoulder, your knee, your lower back, what it might be that's hurting you, that's creating this problem where it's almost shutting you down, painful, then Ideal MRI can help you. 1, with the imaging machine. 2, $497 or less every single time. Every single time. Since the first day I started endorsing them many years ago, Ideal MRI has kept to that. So they have the state-of-the-art imaging machine to find out, get the evidence, and then also only $497 and maybe less every single time. The average MRI is around $1,100. That's a huge difference. It's Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners and staff inside the Central Texas Marketplace. Ideal MRI off of I-35 in Waco. Go to the website for more information, too, at idealmri.com.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoke. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon wrap fillets, sirloin steaks, bone-in ribeyes, boneless ribeyes, and even prime rib. Cut specifically the way you want, the thickness that you want. They're all delicious. They have Norwegian salmon, mahi-mahi, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey, variety of cheese, and several options of sausage links, and even regular jalapeno or cheese snack sticks, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, and ground beef, marinated beef or chicken fajitas, and always large briskets and tri-tip available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, a full-service butcher shop and bakery, open Monday through Saturday. The Bauer family, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
All right, the 4 o'clock hour around the corner, but we've got work to do. The Open Championship at Royal Troon tomorrow. Weather will be bad. That's the best way to watch and make those guys play in the Open Championship. Rob Bolton, PGAtour.com, joins us on 365 Sports. We'll pick our teams in a moment. We've already got the numbers locked in for everybody. And, Rob, thank you very much for your time. Is it going to be one of those weekends where it's wet, windy most of the time?
Hey, guys, we're talking about the Barracuda Championship, right? That's what we got planned today?
Yes, absolutely.
where the weather's going to be absolutely beautiful, and the opposite, fittingly for an opposite event, than the Open Championship. Yeah, I love this weather forecast. It's like the old school. Just look outside. Tell me what's going on, because that's all that matters at any one moment. Everybody's going to get affected by it. We don't know how it's going to play out until it plays out. And so, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we get to experience that every once in a while, and this tournament delivers that. We don't know, and we get to see what happens. I mean, we would love that more. I think we would really love that more of the time. But in this world where we have everything at our disposal fingertips, we can predict, we can plan. This is not that. That's one of the reasons I love it.
Well, everyone knows about the crazy bunkers that you have to play when you play in that type of environment. And I've heard a lot about these. What is the most dangerous part of this course?
The answer is it depends on which way the wind is blowing. However, I think unless it's just perfect for all the golfers, which it isn't. I'm just trying to leave out that 1% or fraction of a percent. The second 9, so holes 10 through 18 on the way in, typically are more difficult. It's a par 36-35, but the second 9 typically plays a couple of shots over par. The front 9 plays about par. So relative to par, it's the second 9. But that's with the wind coming off the Firth of Clyde, which is the sea to the west, and when the prevailing wind, which is usually from the west, that's when it becomes really difficult. But the prevailing wind, well, I should say, the wind this week, as we are speaking at this moment, is expected to blow a little bit more from the south, which will help some of those carries on the back 9. Doesn't mean it's going to be easier. It could be easier, but that's the real tough spot of this course. Royal Troon's back 9, but the wind, though, it may be completely different. We may be talking about the front 9 being more difficult because of that specific thing, and it's like we don't know until we know. It's part of the fun, as I mentioned earlier. But the back 9 in a vacuum.
Have you ever played or been to a course like that?
Oh man, no. I can only imagine what it must be like for everybody who has, and then to try to do what I do. It would probably add another entire layer, and I might just quit the job. I think the less I know, the better in terms of application. I'm not a golfer by trade anyway. I've lived out here in Arizona for 11 years. I played once, and the course I played no longer exists. So it gives you an idea of how in tune with the action of the golf is. I have played. I will just say this: the course that no longer exists is the former ASU course with a Pete Dye design, and I wanted to quit by the 14th hole. And the back 9 of that course had some elements. Pete Dye. I mean, it gets in your mind anyway. But it had the elements where you just got to stay out of the bunkers. And whatever. I'm not a good player, but I couldn't stay out of the bunkers, and I can't imagine the level of patience required, even for professional athletes, to deal with that on a course like this. You just got to stay out of it, period.
All right, so a couple of things. One is each of us, Emery, Paul, Rob, and I, will get to pick 4 players. Whoever picks first will not pick again until it's the 8th pick, and then you double up at the end of each round. If you get anybody on your team that misses the cut, your team is disqualified. No matter if 3 other guys are in the 1, 2, and 3 at the end, if you have somebody miss the cut, and in the conditions that we might see this weekend, it is like, honestly, you're like rolling craps. You don't know what's going to happen. All right, so, Rob, we did like the crumbled up pieces of paper. Craig laid them out. Paul is 1. Emery is 2. You are 3. And then I get number 4. So we start with Paul.
I will take Scotty Scheffler.
Took a long time to turn the card in. And you?
I'm going to go with Xander.
Xander Schauffele. Rob?
Yeah, your intro there about the rules, the format, when Paul had gotten in touch to ask if I was available, I thought about that, and I thought, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be. This is just
Oh,
this is
yeah,
rough.
I know.
I'm going to open with Rory McIlroy since he's sitting there.
I'm going to take Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. Rob, back to you.
That makes it easy then for Colin Morikawa.
Yeah. Emery.
I am going to go with, I'll go with, I always mess up his name, Ludwig
Oberg.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oberg.
From Texas Tech, by the way. Get your guns up. Paul Catalina, 2 picks.
I will take John Rahm and Tommy Fleetwood.
I like him, and especially with our rules. He is a grinder. All right, back to you, Emery.
I'm going to go with Aaron Rye.
Rob?
I know he's saving Austin Eckroth there for the last round, so I'll leave him available to you. This just makes all the sense. I mean, given the format, former Open champion Shane Lowry.
Damn it. That was going to be my last pick, my 4th pick. I'm going to take Tony Finau. And I'm taking McIntyre, who just won the Scottish Open just because of the course. He might be like Paul, who just did a keg stand, by the way, to start the show. I'm going to take, that's not a big name, but it's a hot name, and he seems to play well. And I hope he's not so over-modulated, but I'll take Finau and then McIntyre. Back to you, Rob.
This guy's not in my power rankings, but I wrote pretty highly of him in the Golf at Insider on Wednesday. I just continue to believe in the guy. I think he's turned the corner. Victor Hovland.
Okay. Emery.
I'm going to go Alex Noren.
All right.
Shocker.
Yeah, no Eckroth. Yeah. Is he in it? Is Eckroth? I mean,
I'm not even.
Yeah, okay.
So.
All right. And Paul, your last one.
I'll take Sahith Theegala.
Yeah, that has become kind of my favorite guy.
Yeah.
I like watching Rye, Theegala, and Batia. They had 3, have kind of burst onto the scene in the last year or two, and they are all grinders. All right, Rob, you see the team. The weakness is where?
That's exactly the question, because we're all loaded. So who has, if you looked up and down, I mean, Paul with Rahm, he needs something good to happen in the majors. Couldn't play the U.S. Open because of the injury. He's been playing really well on Live the last couple starts. So I don't think there's any question mark there. I leaned into Colin Morikawa in my pick there because he was available. And then Theegala, who I love. It's at some point Theegala is going to be a regular, top 2 round pick in this draft. So he's just so good. I just love watching him play. Emery, love it. I mean, Ryan Noren were the last 2 guys in the field, essentially, with Richard Mansell on Sunday via the Scottish. Both guys are trending highly. They're not the sexiest players in the field, but you're looking to go back-to-back in the majors. I could see them doing that for you. And Oberg is just dynamite. I mean, that's just a really fun team to watch, despite what I just said about those 2 guys not being sexy. I mean, I got the guys I wanted. Maybe I reached a little bit there for Hovland. I looked at Brian Harmon at the end. Theegala was sitting there. Tyrrell Hatton, our nemesis, even though he delivered the U.S. Open. 11 straight cuts made, by the way, in the majors suddenly, guys, with Tyrrell Hatton. And then Smokey, I mean, Koepka's the one, right? I mean, we just don't know. You have the faith. I have the faith. But come on already. Like, stop throwing up, T43s. You're better than that. That's what you expect from the guy, because he expects so much more from him. So I would imagine, again, a little bit like Rahm, something to prove in the last major. That's what we hope for. That's sort of the spin on positive analysis. But we're still waiting for him to get it done. At some point, though, how long is that leash, and I wasn't ready to go into the Koepka market, so obviously you are. You're the most intriguing in terms of least expectations, so you're probably the most dangerous.
Yeah, I got some bangers with Bryson and Koepka, but with Koepka, if he starts poorly, with all due respect, love the guy, love watching him play, but he's one of those that can he's gone, right? And so Finau, of course, who almost won it recently, McIntyre, I love watching. He can putt. My God, can he putt? And just won the Scottish Open, which was a huge deal. So, all right.
Our last round is really compelling. The fact that it's we're picks 13 through 16.
Mm-hmm.
We went chalk at the top, but that's where it gets really interesting in this thing. And just head to head for those four guys alone would be a really compelling sort of contest.
All right. Is there a name? And again, McIntyre popped out. He almost won. What was it? Well, he did win the Canadian Open. Now he won the Scottish Open. So now he can try to win the Open Championship. Is there a name that's not a part of who we have that you feel like could, see, we don't even think about Jordan Spieth anymore. He's just dangerous. He's just dangerous. You can't trust him. And now it means he'll probably win it. Is there a name that we did not mention that is a hot name among you and your guys on the site that feel like he might be in competition?
Tom Kim.
That's Jennifer Smoke's favorite player.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. He's so much fun. He's comfortable. He's gone through this transition in scaling to where he is on the world stage and as a PGA Tour member, where he disappeared for a little while. I think he's finally got his footing. Hearing some things, it made sense that he scuffled a little bit, but now that he's only 22? I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
It would be quite an upset if he won the thing. I have him as a top 10, and I said, look, if you get into a top 5, I'm not going to talk you out of it. It just requires a little bit of luck. But 3.5 to 1 for a top 10, that's really respectful. But he'd be the guy. He came close in the Open before. I mean, good week last week, couple of top 4 finishes in the last couple months. I mean, to answer your question about the hot player, he's it without a recent victory.
Yeah.
Easy answer there.
Adam Scott played well this past weekend, a veteran in his 40s now. He's playing. Watch out for him. And I got to ask you, who of these two will make the cut? Likely make the cut. Mickelson or Tiger?
So first of all, when you mention Adam Scott, I mean I don't have the actual data at my fingertips, but I would probably bet my job that the average age of the winners of this tournament of, let's say, the last 20 years is the highest average of any tournament. So the field, he's much closer to what's expected of success in this tournament because of all the variables that are attached to it. Guys of a certain age, and so many of them, they haven't won again on the PGA Tour since they won the Open. That's just kind of an oddity because they are of a certain age. This is where they expect to win. Don't be surprised if Scott's sitting there at the end with other guys like Justin Rose. But I actually I'm touting Tiger Woods to make the cut at plus 220. And it's because of one specific thing. He hasn't been able to play golf the way that we expect him to, of course. We know that. But he said something this week that he's been able to do a little bit more in the gym. And I'm really curious of how that manifests. On a course where, again, he's a man of a certain age. He knows how to navigate around the bunkers. He's still the guy when it comes to striking the golf ball. And he doesn't need to bomb it this week. And not that he's short, but he doesn't have to really put his body through the rigors. This is more of a mental situation for him. In addition to the regular of the physical. So that the mental plays up, and who's going to go up against him in that world. I actually looked because again, Mickelson's in that same category essentially, even though he's 50, he's 54 now. I almost looked at a parlay between those two making the cut, and I think that there was about 10 to 1.
Okay,
that would have been a nice little payback. But I like Woods in that head-to-head.
Okay, hey man, you stole Lowry from me, but I'll forgive you. Look for Rob Bolton on his Twitter feed. Is Rob Bolton Golf? Is that correct?
PGA, right?
PGA. Rob Bolton PGA.
Yeah, Rob Bolton Golf.
No, I was right.
Sorry.
Paul.
Sorry.
Paul's had a beer or two.
Yeah, I did a keg stand an hour ago.
So Rob Bolton Golf, and he'll put up the teams, and it's great watching some of the replays or some of the comments. Rob, have a great weekend, man. We appreciate you so much for coming on with us.
Likewise, guys. You're the best. Thanks
Rob,
again. Take care.
Yeah, he stole Shane Lowry, who I just think he's a mutter. A couple other guys. It's interesting that Spieth is not even mentioned, which is he can play well in these kind of conditions among a couple of others. Okay, Emery, good stuff. When we come back, we get back to the college football topics of the day. There was is it the UFL? Is that right? The UFL draft?
Yes.
We have a couple of names that are somewhat familiar that were drafted. Dennis Dodd with a story about the possibility of 2 Division IIs and where that might be. But later on here in the hour, Pat Smith from Birmingham. Also Cedric Golden, Austin American-Statesman, and we also have Sam Kahn from theathletic.com, and this is 365 Sports.
Dr. Kent Petty and PettyClinicLowT.com can help you become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Dr. Petty has special interest in testosterone replacement therapy for low T and currently offering immediate same-day access for lab screening to help identify those men in need. Some of the symptoms of low T: fatigue, loss of energy, poor sexual performance, ED, loss of even sexual decreased muscle mass and strength, weight gain, excess body fat, depression, moodiness, poor sleep, insomnia, poor mental focus. Go to PettyClinicLowT.com, click on the email and or phone number, and get in touch with them and tell them I sent you. Dr. Petty will then set you up to get your blood work, get the results, and if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program so you can become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Celebrate American quality and value during the Red, White, and Blue sales tag event at Richard Carr. Drive the best. Get professional-grade power and first-class interior in a GMC Sierra. Qualified buyers save $9,000 on all 2024 GMC Sierra SLT models in stock with qualified trade-in. Military and first responders save an extra $500. Plus, find Red, White, and Blue savings tags on vehicles all over the lot. Drive home American quality and value during our Red, White, and Blue sales tag event at Richard Carr GMC.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
365 Sports, Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina on the set. David Smoke in Studio 2, Garrett Ross, Emery Winter, Jack McKenzie, Levi Caraway. You name it, we have you here, and we're trying to bring you what we can when it comes to college football. 3 guests coming up just around the corner. Where are we going to go here? Let's go to the Dennis Dodd story. So we've heard about the separation, right? The possibility of super conferences. And then that's not the only story that's a separation. There's the possibility, we've heard this before, about 2 different sets of Division Ones. There's the Power 5 or the Autonomy 4, whoever that might be, and everybody else. And I guess this is so, if you're one of those Autonomy 4 conferences, is this because you don't want Boise, Troy, Oregon State, them making decisions on your roster?
No, this is because you don't want Division III presidents making decisions on your roster. That's the big thing. So that's part of the issue the Power 4 has is if they want to do certain things and vote a certain way. Well, there's only 60 some odd of them, or let's just say it rounds off at 72 one day between the 4 conferences. There's 72 of them. Well, there's 300 of the others that can't do that. So somebody might be a huge D3 benefactor, right? That's like, oh, well, I'm going to make sure that, East West Georgia State is the best because I'm the billionaire who went there. And then you have that team dominating everything as opposed to, where it's level across the board. And then also when it comes to lawsuits and things like that, you can kind of separate yourself off and make the deals that you want to make. Because right now with the House settlement, that thing's not been approved yet, as we know. And there's going to be some fight from the smaller schools on that because we already know they don't like the fact that they're paying,
and they shouldn't like it.
A chunk of this bill for something that wasn't them. So I think this is inevitable. What I don't want it to be is the P2s are splitting off. But if you have the financial wherewithal and the resource to do it, and you want to run a big dog program, you should be able to do that. And if you don't, then you should be able to compete and govern yourself in a way that you don't have to make decisions at Sonoma State the way that Alabama does, because it's not the same thing.
Craig, the NCAA Council has 40 members. 14 of the 40 are from Power 4 conferences. And so they are kind of, in this particular case, in the minority when it comes to passing legislation or passing certain rules and guidelines.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I don't care a great deal about, but I know it's important. When we got in kind of the minutia of the offseason before media days, and it was all this stuff about the governance structures and the lawsuits and the settlements and all that. That's less fun stuff, but it is important. And, when you talk about the breakaway, this is what you're talking about to some extent. It's not maybe what other people envisioned as far as 2 conferences or 3 conferences splitting and starting their own thing and holding their own events and doing all of those things, although maybe that's still down the pipeline. None of us really know, but this is a step towards that bigger picture type of breakaway, and it is a breakaway as far as rules and rule making and things of that nature. So, I don't think this is any surprise. I don't think this is anything that is out of nowhere. It's been bandied about and thrown out there in various versions 1,000 times. Like, if you're anybody at a school that's somehow surprised that Texas and Michigan don't want to play under the same roof as Texas State and Western Michigan, then you've been living under a rock for a long time now. So, when you talk about a break, maybe those first steps are just the legislative breaks and the rule breaks and the things like that. I think that's what they've been going after as much as anything. And then the other stuff's just more fun to talk about and is much more bigger picture. But this is important because you want to have rules that best suit you, and you don't want to have rules that don't make sense for everybody as a collective, which is kind of where we are now, where the same rules for schools who are operating completely differently just don't make as much sense as they used to.
Here's a note from this story from Dennis Dodd, and then we can move on to something else. Sources indicated that there was acrimony and concern among smaller conferences when it became evident the structure would favor the Power Four. Not breaking news, the initiative continues. A person with knowledge of the latest council meeting told CBS Sports this was one of the more compelling presentations just in terms of the reality of where we are in college sports. Yeah,
I mean, it's the reality of where we are in college sports. I think that says it best. And I feel for smaller schools, but I'm sorry at the same time, like, business can't stop down because, Eastern Minnesota, which I think I just made up a school, but I don't want to keep picking on the same people that pop into my head. But, like, you're not Texas. You're not Oklahoma. You're not Penn State. Like, things are different. And so those differences need to be applied and understood in terms of the rules and who can do what and how they can do it and all those different types of things. So, like, I don't know, I guess because we were sitting here looking at the breakaway from the standpoint of what if you're Oklahoma State or what if you're K-State, schools like that, they could be left out. Schools like Oregon State and Washington State, the way things stand right now. But I don't know, man. Like, I think even then you got pushback because it's like, well, you're not Alabama and you're not Auburn and you're not these schools that are making $80 gajillion per year. So if they're not that, then what are schools that are like 2 or 3 steps below those schools? You know what I mean? And I don't want to throw them out, baby out with the bathwater and all that. Like, and I don't want to sound like some elitist punk either, like Greg Sankey, but like, you can't stop down business for a few schools that really don't matter in the bottom dollar at all whatsoever. Like, your traditions are great. Your history is great. Nobody's trying to get rid of all that. But, like, your say should not matter as much as USC's say, just because that's the way things work.
Okay, you have these 4 power conferences, right? And you have the separation now with the Big Ten and the SEC. And then you have the ACC and the Big 12. Basically, I think the ACC had a couple of million more per school, but for the most part, the same. And we hear those 2 conferences going, whoa, wait a minute, we're being left behind. How hypocritical are they saying that? I'm not saying they are. Are they hypocritical by they themselves complaining about separation and yet they're a part of a separate separation?
A little. I think that this separation, though, will be good for everybody in the long run because it allows you to make the choice of, okay, this is where we can be. And like right now, here's the other thing. If you're Eastern Minnesota, Craig's fictional university, do you really want to have to keep fighting Alabama and USC and Texas? Or do you want to do your own thing and make it what's best for you? Like, that to me is a better thing.
But only after they pay the bill.
Yeah.
That's what sucks, if in fact that's what happens.
Yeah, but there's more of those schools.
No, I get it.
And they're taking, that's not a rock-solid argument of, like, they're just the poor, woe is me, and they're getting picked on. Like, they have a hand in all the stuff as well and a hand in the settlement. And I know the way it's portrayed is they're the ones getting bullied by the bigger schools, but I don't think it's as clear-cut as just that. Like, they're the kid that got picked on and has to pay for everybody else's lunch. I don't think that's how it's portrayed by some of them, and I don't think that's exactly the full picture of it.
Yeah, because they've also gotten money out of the NCAA men's basketball tournament.
Right.
And
this isn't all just like college football playoff money that's being used to pay this off. Like, if that were the case, then they would have a rock-solid argument of, like, we don't even sniff this thing. How are we paying for this? But you do play in the NCAA tournament, men's and women's. You do play in all the other sports tournaments. So you're not without any say or, cause for payment or in this whole thing. You're not without needing to pony up as well, but I understand the argument, and I don't really want to delve into that because I don't care about that argument all that much. But, I mean, this is, to your point, I just said what you said a second ago and followed up with about the Big 12 and teams like that worrying about a breakaway. But this is P4 structure. This isn't the SEC and the Big 10 saying we're breaking off and we're going to do another thing. This includes the Big 12 and the ACC. So that's the difference, is they're not being broken away from. Now, I don't think Brett Yormark and them can sleep with both eyes closed anytime soon. And I would worry that the next step is to do a further breakaway where then those two who have way more money every year then say, well, you're not even in our ballpark anymore. But for right now, those other schools can compete with them. The schools we're talking about cannot compete with them. There might be that blue moon on a random Saturday when a program's down and they get bit by somebody that's several leagues below them. But Oklahoma State's not several leagues below Auburn. They're not. I don't care. Like they had the less, but they're like as an operating entity and competitively, they're in the same area.
Oklahoma State can beat Auburn.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's my point. Is like we're talking about like Duluth Central, and like they're upset that Alabama wants to do things because Alabama has a different whole set of circumstances. So why are we bogging down, worried about those that cannot keep pace? And I'm sorry, but if you get left behind, that's just the natural evolution of the sport. Like, that's not being a bully or picking. That's just like you simply can't compete with Walmart anymore, mom and pop shop. It's sad, but you can't. And so maybe you need different business rules to abide by as opposed to what Walmart can do, which you can't even come close to touching.
Which makes Pioneer Steel and Pipe even more powerful because they've been able to survive the big box stores.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And build their own. Yeah.
Kudos to them. And that's what those schools probably need to start doing. It's like, hey, you are clearly not a part of the future plans. Now, you are to some extent. They're still going to want your basketball teams from time to time, and they're going to want some things. But, like, from a football perspective, guys, let's stop pretending like it's anything close to equal. Like, it's and it's getting more and more unequal from top to bottom. And so when we get into this whole conversation about rules making, it's like, no, I don't believe that a school that has nothing to ever do with the college football playoff should have as much or close to equal say as Georgia does. We're talking about two different things here, and we can't keep pretending that it's all the same thing and it's all equal and it's all balanced.
Should it be the same format or structure for men's basketball?
No. Basketball is a different thing.
Well, that's why
basketball, you can get good, like, by getting three dudes.
Well, there's 351 of them.
Yeah.
So you
don't have to worry about like having an O-line and a D-line that can compete with a middling team in another conference.
No, look,
you get the right five guys, and hey, Magic, if even five,
Steph Curry went to Davidson. There are like those guys out there, especially when it comes to basketball. And especially with basketball, you have probably a higher average per player when it comes to NIL. Because in football, like you might have, a bigger budget for football, but that money's got to be spread out, a lot of different ways because you've got 85 scholarships. Basketball, you've got 12 guys that you've got to take care of, and you've got probably of those 12 guys, 3 or 4 you've got to really, really take care of. Yeah. And then the rest are doing okay.
Justin R. put this on. I disagree with Justin R. You guys tell me if I'm right or wrong. 95% of the FBS are closer to the G5 than the Georgias, Michigans, and UTs of the world.
I think you use like the 3 biggest examples you could possibly use when there's a lot of middle ground that gets like ushered to the side in that comparison right there. I don't think Oklahoma State's closer to the bottom than they are to the 3 you mentioned. I don't believe that for a single second. I don't believe that for most of the Big 12. I think, I understand where your point is. This is like, to this story, I use like Eastern Minnesota as just like an example.
You made up 3 schools, but they're all pretty good schools.
But there is like a group of schools like a Boise State and those types of G5s that this is bad news potentially. This is awful. This is like scramble, high alert. Like this is not good news for us. And I do feel for those schools, and I'm not trying to throw them out either. I'm saying, though, like the bottom of the smallest schools do not need to have as much say as the top of the top schools. I don't necessarily believe that the G5 should have no say. But I don't think it comes as a surprise that the Power 4, the autonomy for those who prefer that, because all that label means is they're the rule makers. I'm just not surprised that they're doing this, and because they are operating on a bit of a different level business-wise than even the Boise States. But, we'll see what that leads to. I just don't think you need 100-plus schools that are all under the same umbrella necessarily in this day and age of rulemaking and legislation. And I can understand where the bigger schools are coming from there.
From UT Parking, Texas Tech was 18th in football revenue last year. You need schools like Tech to legitimize a national championship in a college football, otherwise a playoff. Otherwise, you can poke holes in it.
They're included.
No, he was just.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, they're in the Power Four, so they're part of those that would be making the rules and splitting away, so to speak. So it's not just the SEC and the Big Ten. It's all the Big 12. It's all the ACC. And that's what I'm
Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame. So it's not like 20 schools. Now, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, if you're Brett Yormark, you never sleep with both eyes closed, because the next evolution of this is probably that example of Georgia, Michigan, Texas aren't the same as Oak State, Houston, and Wake Forest. You know, like, that's probably to come later on. But for right now, it's more those Power Fours trying to break away from your Boise States, which I don't necessarily love that. But my fictional Eastern Minnesota, I'm sorry, but it's just the reality is what it is.
It has to be a little bit of a concerning time for Boise,
Memphis,
UCF. No, excuse me, U.S., South Florida, schools like that. One other note. I still think when we hear about the breakaway to two bigger conferences, Super, whatever you call it, Craig, he still hasn't gotten it copyrighted, but the Super 2. You mean to tell me that if they do that and the two big conferences say, okay, we're moving up another level, we'll take a few teams with us, that they're going to also take some of their weak links with them? Now that's going to be a fist fight.
Yeah, I think that's so far down the line, though. Like, I know that's a fun conversation, but they got to, like, break away another couple times from other things first to get to that point of where you're like, hey, we'll take Oklahoma State and we'll take K-State, which they probably wouldn't, honestly. K-State, they probably wouldn't. We'll take TCU, but to your point, eliminate, like, sorry, Wake Forest, sorry, Boston College, sorry. I think that's a bit further away than necessary to worry about right now.
There's going to be a fist fight on both aisles.
Well, yeah, because
you're going to have a fist fight. Wait a minute, we've been a part of this whole thing, kept our mouths shut.
But somebody has to lose, right?
But all right. Are you going to add something else, Paul?
No, I was just going to say, like, yes, they're not going to want to, go like. Part of the reason, like, I'm sure Boston College and Wake Forest and the ACC lawsuit, like, every time they get the update, be like, file everything you can.
Yeah.
Like, we want a discovery on top of the discovery, like, whatever you can, file it and slow this down, because they're going to be the ones in the back of the line when it comes to, the game of musical chairs.
Real quick.
Yeah, I think that is one of the more interesting pieces, though, if you want to, like, fantasy, play around with the idea, fantasy book, the future is this idea that Alabama and Texas and Oklahoma and all those big schools would say, like, all right, see you, Vanderbilt. Like, I can see both sides of that. I still think Vanderbilt's been such a loyal servant that they'll have a place. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that they'll turn it into the real Super League.
They might have secrets.
Right. Yeah. I think that it's less of like, this is really the 24 best teams ever built, and they only play each other. I don't think we're anywhere close to that.
No, I don't think so either. Retired stockbroker with yet another super chat. Thank you very much. We will play Paul's Keg Stand later in the show. But we have three back-to-back-to-back guests, including coming up next, Pat Smith, Cedric Golden, and then Sam Kahn. This is 365 Sports. Got some new information from Ted Teague, General Manager, CEO at Allen Samuels. Make this the summer event. Deals are as hot as the temperature is outside. You can buy a new Jeep Grand Cherokee for $55,490. That's the Grand Cherokee 4XE, or finance one for 2.9% for 84 months. 2.9%. 2.9% for 84 months. You could also take advantage of the 2024 Dodge Hornet RT or the 2024 Jeep Wrangler 4XE, 2.9% for 72 months. And another great deal, 2024 Ram 1500 Limited Crew Cab, save $13,686. One of the last Ram premium models available, 1500 Crew Cabs to 5.7 Hemi V8 engine, or the 2024 Ram 2500 Crew Cab tradesman work truck for $49,990. They have Dodge Challengers with great deals, Dodge Durango with great deals. Ask your sales rep when you get there the contact you have at the dealership. 2022 Dodge Charger Hellcat, wide body, reduced to $81,750. Sleek, sexy, and so fine. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas. Also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Our good friend Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jewelers here at 365 Sports. Now, Brad, people who watch and listen to our show know I'm a double-time customer for you, engagement ring and wedding band, and you guys do that great, but that's not all you do at Boozer's Jewelers.
Absolutely, and I always like to say, it's a new year. It's a great way to start the year out. Go through your old jewelry. Go through your wife's jewelry box. Go through anything you're maybe not wearing, something that's broken, something that you're not using. We do a massive amount of custom work. We can take your old jewelry, old diamonds, old watches, and we can convert it into something special for you and make a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. And if that's not something you're interested in, a great thing is we can turn that into cash. So we buy gold, we buy diamonds, we'll buy Rolex watches, any kind of heirloom jewelry, anything that's maybe passed down to you.
Boozer's Jewelers, where do they find you, Brad?
We're at 1025 North Valley Mills Drive, right on the corner of Lake Air Drive and Valley Mills with the big clock on the corner.
Bambi SQ, what is the number one reason or two or three reasons, Bambi, that people should contact House of Travel?
As a travel agency local here in Waco, we can take care of all your bookings, your payments, answer your questions, help you when there are issues or problems, things that may come up that you don't know what to do or how to fix them. People don't realize we don't charge a fee for what we do. It doesn't cost you extra to use a travel agent. We're just here. We get paid by the tour companies and the cruise lines to represent them. But you have an expert on your side that's here and local, and you have a name and a face to put together to help you with anything that you may need. Give us a call. We can price things for you. We can help you answer questions. We can make it simple, easy, and one stop.
Your knowledge of all the years you've done this and then spit it back to them or give them options?
Helps us to kind of know a date range, a budget, what your goals are and what you want to see and do on your vacation. And then that helps us to know what to look for, and we can narrow down and help you make the best choices for your vacation so you get the best value. You get exactly what you were hoping for, and making sure that it's taken care of with a carefree, easy, simple for you type vacation. I've been doing this for over 40 years. Every day I learn something new. I experience new situations and things that I can help take care of for people, whether it's just making sure you get the best deals and find the best vacations, or whether it's to solve that problem, like you've got a flight that's being canceled and you don't know what to do. There's weather coming up. Should I cancel my trip next week because of the hurricane? Those are things that we take care of and you don't have to worry about. You've got somebody that you can rely on that you know is an expert, knows what we're doing, have been doing this for a long time, so that you're not questioning, okay, does the person on the other end of the phone really understand what I'm asking or know how to find those deals? You've got an expert, and we are here to take care of that.
For more information, go to houseoftravelwaco.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The Sikkim 365 app is brought to you by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Here we go, 365 Sports, and one of our best, no doubt, segments. Knowledgeable college football insider Pat Smith joins us, three-man front, joins us on 365 Sports. Pat, I know you've been anchoring the coverage where you are in Birmingham and listening to all the interviews and the analysts and setting up guests, etc. Is there been anything in particular that from today that was said that maybe caught your attention more than anything else?
Well, it's interesting. First off, it's always great to be on with you guys, especially this week. It's so fantastic. SEC Football Media Days in the state of Texas, you guys stay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's kind of odd. First time west of the Mississippi River, so it's new times in the conference. It's interesting because you got Lane Kiffin yesterday. He's trying to use the old Nick Saban rat poison because he knows that Ole Miss's schedule is going to benefit them, and they're going to be mentioned potentially for a college football playoff, or heck, maybe even to get to Atlanta. Meanwhile, Steve Sarkisian, his old buddy today, that goes to your question, Smokey, in regards to what kind of it caught my attention today. Steve Sarkisian is leaning into the expectations of the University of Texas, whereas Lane Kiffin was kind of running away from them yesterday. Sarkisian today, to me, was saying, you know what, we've been talking about so long for Texas being back. I think we kind of proved last year in Bryant-Denny Stadium and getting to the college football playoff. You know what? we should be one of the top teams in this conference, and we're leaning into it. It's not an arrogance, but it's just a confidence that I felt today with Steve Sarkisian. So that really jumped out to me.
Pat, Greg Sankey made a comment about Georgia not whining about not being in the playoff last year. Why? Right. To what end was that good for him?
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. So there's this prevailing thought in my neck of the woods. I mean, where I broadcast every day, I'm literally a long Jalen Milroe pass away from the SEC home office, okay?
Right.
And so there's a lot of conversations about Florida State and Clemson, that the SEC is going to get into a war with the Big Ten. You know, if the Big Ten wants to come down and plant their flag in Florida. Meanwhile, you got Florida people, they don't want FSU in the league. You got South Carolina people, they don't want Clemson in the league. So by him taking a veiled shot today in that interview he did in Jacksonville where he said Georgia was one of the 4 best teams in the nation and didn't get in the playoff, but you didn't see us jumping up and down and complaining and hanging national championship banners. That's a direct shot at Florida State in the rings and claiming, you know, the only undefeated 13-0 champion, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. That's a shot at all these people that keep saying they want Florida State in the league. That was his way of saying, you know what? We are at 16. We've got Texas. We've got Oklahoma, 2 of the biggest brands in college football that's now under our roof. So all these people that keep saying that we need more in regards to Florida State and Clemson, y'all just pump the brakes a little bit. And I think that was his way of kind of taking that veiled shot at Florida State in the ACC.
Pat, I know we don't want to run down like all the realignment stuff, man, because you know how off the rails that can get. But just following up on that, do you really feel? I mean, clearly, I think you feel that's exactly what he was saying. But do you feel their appetite really is as quenched as he makes it sound to be, or that's just not the combination that they would be interested in?
Well, I can tell you right now, guys, the people that I've talked to around the Southeastern Conference. Obviously, Greg Sankey's not going to say this. He's not even going to say this in cocktail parties. But I can tell you right now, Texas A&M did not want Texas in the league a few years ago. But an amazing thing happens. When these presidents and chancellors get behind closed doors and somebody makes a presentation and they say, you know what? You guys are going to be able to make X more money. And in this day and age with college athletics, bleeding money and now going to have to pay on the house settlement and now going to have to pay players. They're trying to come up with new revenue streams. So I have a hard time believing that if you get into a room with a bunch of bean counters and comptrollers and they basically say, you know what, guys, we can increase your revenue stream by 10% if we add Florida State and we add Clemson, then all of a sudden you're going to see the likes of Florida and Clemson or South Carolina say, you know what, sign us up. We're going to vote for it. Because that's what happened with Texas A&M. They did not want the Longhorns then.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they knew that it was going to make more sense to them financially. And so that's why it was unanimous. You know, Texas A&M didn't want them in, but at the end of the day, they did. So to answer your question with a long answer, I think when it's all said and done, if it makes sense and ESPN is ready to pay a little bit more money, then Florida State and Clemson will be a conversation. But I've been told that North Carolina is the school that the SEC really, really wants. It's another state that the SEC is not in. It's funny because the SEC Network's headquarters is in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we don't have a team from the Southeastern Conference from the state of North Carolina. I think that them and the Big Ten both, when it's all said and done, whether it's a year from now, 2, 3, into this decade, North Carolina is going to be the school that both the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be fighting over.
Yeah, because they can beat them more than they can beat Clemson and Florida State.
That is correct, and not to mention the fact that you're bringing in a wonderful basketball brand, and the SEC needs to step that up because obviously you guys in the Big 12 have had that mantra for the last couple of years.
Pat, I asked this question. We had a discussion a minute ago about the separation, and again, any kind of a super conference, whenever that is or how many that includes, is still down the road. But do you think there would ever get to a point, let's say they take the top 48 teams from everywhere, which would include whoever they would piecemeal perhaps from the ACC or possibly the Big 12. And then, of course, there's Notre Dame. Do you think that the SEC would ever move into another echelon or atmosphere and leave anybody that's been a part of that conference like Vanderbilt or South Carolina or Mississippi State, et cetera, behind?
That is when the rubber would meet the road. It's interesting because, Smokey, I listened to the interview that former Texas A&M AD Ross Bjork made yesterday. I think it was in Cleveland, Ohio. And he actually threw the idea out that at the end of the decade, when these contracts come up for renewal in these media rights, he kind of threw it out there. He inferred that, let's say a school in the Big Ten was not carrying their weight, or let's say that they're not putting forth the best effort to put in stadium renovations or player involvement, or they're not going to pay their players a minimum amount of money per their athletic department budget, those teams may be susceptible of being literally let out of the conference. So basically, he's saying, okay, if Northwestern doesn't want to put forth the effort, just like a Vanderbilt wouldn't put forth the effort in the SEC, not only would they be relegated, but they just might be completely escorted out of the league. I thought that was extremely fascinating for a man of Ross Bjork and the title that he has at The Ohio State University to infer that that's a possibility. I think anything's on the table, David. I really mean that, because these athletic programs, the AD at Alabama has said this a million times. There is not a gold bar reservoir underneath Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa. At some point in time, all of these schools, whether you're Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, only Texas and Texas A&M has more money than anybody, and everybody else is trying to catch up to them. But at the end of the day, there's going to have to be some really hardcore decisions made, and I would say anything is on the table moving forward.
It is surprising to hear him say kind of the quiet part out loud, though, about and that might be just to say, like, look, we're already talking about separating the P4 from the G5 and having our own governance anyway. If you guys are going to have a G5 budget, then we're fine letting you be a G5 school, because there's plenty of schools that would love, like, in the G5 that may even have the thing like, yes, we'll find the money, let's go.
Yeah, and listen, he went as far as to talk about his own son playing at Tarleton State. And he was saying, look, that's fine. They're a lower division, just because if they win a championship, that doesn't mean that they're not champions. So, he was really setting the stage. It was a fascinating interview. If someone had not been able to hear it, go back into the Cleveland radio station that did the interview with Ross Bjork. He laid a lot of different interesting scenarios on the table. And I think a lot of ADs, whether it's Ohio State or in the SEC or even in the Big 12, they're having these conversations trying to figure out, okay, where's this next revenue stream going to come? Because of this House settlement and because of what potentially is going to be down the road with collective bargaining, this thing is going to open up a Pandora's box that you thought NIL was bad. You just wait till they have to try to find this money to pay these players.
Yeah, it's one of those never say never. Anything could happen truly at this point in college football because of all of the moving parts. It's very interesting. These next few years will be equally fascinating. There are the two big new members in Texas who I know was there today, and then Oklahoma, I believe that was yesterday. Just what do you gather from what you've heard and what you've been able to see and what others have said about just how those two have kind of slid in, and what's it like to see that all official now and them mixing and mingling with the Alabamas, Georgias, LSUs of the world?
Well, it's funny because when you talk about the old school, the original Southeastern Conference schools, the guys from LSU and Alabama and Auburn and Georgia, they all say the same thing about Texas. Basically, Texas has the arrogance of Alabama without the championship. And so they're not pausing. They're coming in with guns a-blazing, and they got a good football team. So, that benefits Sarkisian. But at the end of the day, everybody realizes that Oklahoma is really the crown jewel of the two schools. Now, they're never going to get that kind of credit. I know you guys have dealt with Oklahoma and Texas for many, many years, and you guys would probably be better to ask that question to. But overall, from an overall athletic standpoint, I think people are more quietly, happy about Oklahoma, especially in football, because you look at the cachet and you look at the number of wins they've had since the invention of the college football playoff. I think they got like 103 wins overall, and I think Texas only has like 70 some odd wins since 2014. So, it's a situation where at the end of the day, it is football. That's what runs this league. And they're extremely pleased about Oklahoma. They might not have the cachet this year that Texas has, but overall, both schools, people are very happy that they are now under the tent pole of the SEC.
Yeah, and Oklahoma won a double-digit amount of conference championships and played in some national title games. Texas, though, that's a pretty good description of them. I think most everyone would agree with that. I think even Texas fans would agree with the last part of it, but without the national titles, they have the one the last time in 2005. So, Pat, what's it been like? It seemed like as much of the news that's there, 4 teams every day, including tomorrow, that Nick Saban's presence is still the biggest story, or at least it has been for a couple, 2 or 3 days in Dallas.
No, you're absolutely right, because all of us are sitting back, covered him for 17 years. I even covered him when he was at LSU, and obviously he's had some very famous press conferences and run-ins with us in the media with his Monday weekly pressers after games. Would he be able to be critical of certain teams or maybe a coaching move? And he came right out of the gate immediately when he was asked about Texas this week. And he says, listen, if Texas thinks they're going to walk in here and run the SEC like they did the Big 12, they got another thing coming to them. And all of us our jaws hit the ground. We're like, wow, the close relationship that you have with Steve Sarkisian, but he laid the metal down on that one. And, the last couple of days, he has been very methodical, analytical. You could tell that during the season, it's going to be fascinating to watch to see if it's in Alabama or anybody else, they stub their toe. How far is he going to be able to go? Granted, he can go to the telestrator and point out from a coaching point of view. But as we all know, there's also a political aspect to being in the SEC or a big-time college football program, either the Big 12 or obviously the Big 10. And will he be able to navigate that and still be the Nick Saban that everybody loves and appreciates? But basically, what you've seen the first 3 days, guys, it has been amazing television. And I think ESPN has got their money's worth. The other little caveat I want to point out to y'all, he is still paid at the University of Alabama $500,000 a year. He's got an office, not in the football facility, but in the actual football stadium. He claims this week that he has not stepped foot in the practice facility since Kalen DeBoer took over. Now, he still meets with some of the coaches at times and things of that nature. He's still on the Alabama payroll. So my big question is that first SEC conference game between Georgia and Alabama and Bryant-Denny, is Kirby going to let Nick Saban come over to Athens and watch a couple practices and watch some film because he's still under the payroll of the University of Alabama. And there's another reason why Alabama's got the number 2 recruiting class in America. Don't you think Alabama might say, hey, coach, can you call that David Smoke kid in Waco, man? He's that 5-star quarterback. I'd really love you to just drop him a line. And you know what? He's paid by Alabama. He can most certainly do that.
Wow, that's interesting. It's been fun to watch it, Pat. You're the best. Appreciate you. Paul, one more?
One question. Is Billy Napier the coach at Florida in 2025?
No, he is not. Just all you got to do is look at the November schedule. Don't even look at the November schedule. Look at his first part of the year, who he's got. He's got Miami, then he's got Stanford, a really good FCS team out of Birmingham, and then he's got another good conference game right out of the gate. So, yeah, it's going to be tough for him. I think everyone needed to say goodbye to Billy as he got in his car and left today because you won't see him at SEC Media Days in Atlanta.
Greg, anything else? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the only other hot seat really that's out there, would that be Sam Pittman? Would you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Sam Pittman. And unfortunately for Sam, we all love Sam. He's a great football coach, but unfortunately that program has gone backwards, and it did not help getting Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. That's going to hurt them big time.
Pat, thank you. As always, great stuff. Pat Smith with us, 3-man front, also from WJOX in Birmingham, as he said, right across the street from SEC headquarters. We're going to go straight to Cedric. Craig, go ahead.
No, it's always good talking with Pat and good stuff there, as usual. I'm glad that he and all of us recognize that whatever Sankey said, to not really believe it at all, and that, like, you heard it there, and it was the same thing as the Brett McMurphy article, guys. We heard one thing, we see what the headline is, and then you actually read into it and delve deeper, and what is it? Yeah, we under the right circumstances, we'd be interested, and so that's every single one of these things, it feels like, and just always keep that in mind.
All right, Paul, a bottle of Advil on the set?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not messing around. I'm 44, guys. I mean, and I feel every bit of it today.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get that to that later. Again, Cedric Golden, Austin American Statesman, right in the meat of SEC Media Days. Texas a part of it today. Alabama a part of it today, and 16 teams over 4 days. Cedric, you covered the Big 12. It's not nearly as big of a conference as far as the overall media, contingent. UT's always had a large media contingent. What's it been like, in your opinion, today in Dallas?
Smokey, it was nuts. There's so many media here, and easily, I know there are more teams than the SEC, so of course there's going to be more media covering it. But the fact that it's in Dallas, I think, you had all the Dallas TV stations, all the stations and reporters that cover it for Austin, and then the other states that are represented. And it was a humongous gathering of media here today. And I can only imagine how it is in Hoover, Alabama. But having it in a major metro area put even more eyeballs on this conference. So great turnout. Not as many fans as they have when they do it in Hoover, because it's not really an SEC city. So, but as far as the media is concerned, man, huge turnout.
Not yet, Cedric. Not yet, but they're ever expanding, like the Roman army in the SEC. I know this is just kind of a thought exercise. How different do you think it would be for Texas if they had rolled in here, not national championship contenders as opposed to what they are, and a legitimate contender, if they were, say, where Oklahoma is right now, or maybe even perish the thought where they were before Steve Sarkisian came on board?
Yeah, that's a good question, Paul. I really believe it still would have been a lot of hype because it's Texas, and they still, even if they had gone 8-4 last season, they still have that brand name, and they still have the big money, and they're not afraid to spend it. Lamborghinis parked outside the training facility for new recruits. So they still are going to bring that cachet with them. And Oklahoma, as big a program as it's been, with more Heisman winners and more national championships, they still don't bring that cachet. Texas has the brand, and they were never going to take the Sooners without the Longhorns. And when you put those two together and you add it to already the toughest conference in the country, it's going to get more media attention. It's going to get more eyeballs. It's going to get more TV coverage. And for me, I think Texas is going to be the brand regardless. But when you add 12-2 and that CFP appearance to that brand, you get even more hype.
Cedric, they went today, Texas, along with Alabama, Mississippi State, and Florida. I know there was the players' contingent that talked, but Steve Sarkisian, what was just kind of the main message from him? I did see an interesting comment about how he does believe they're as talented as they've been, which coming off of the run last year with all the picks that they had in the NFL draft, it's like, wow, you could actually be more talented. But what stood out to you? What was kind of the message or the main theme of Sark at the podium and just making the rounds?
His main thing was they got to get back to work, and it was interesting to hear him say that. But I'm going to preface it this, guys. When he said that they are as talented as they've been under him, that might be true, but I don't think he's got more proven talent than he had last year.
Right.
You don't lose 13 guys and come back better. You might come back with more depth, but you're going to be playing guys that didn't play as much last year. And so you lose 11 draft picks and 2 free agents to the league. And so Kirby Smart and Nick Saban mastered the art of big NFL classes. They mastered the art of reloading instead of rebuilding. We're going to find out if Texas is in reload mode or rebuild mode because they haven't had this kind of success as far as NFL drafts are concerned since the mid-'80s. So losing to Devondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Christian Jones from the line. You lose all of those guys. Jalen Ford, the linebacker. When you lose all of those guys, Ryan Watts, the quarterback, it would be difficult for me to think that they're going to be better than they were last year, unless some guys that were average last year become very good. And with this schedule, it's going to be tough. I see that their over-under in Vegas is 10.5 wins. That means if you take the over, you're saying they're going to go 11-1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Georgia coming into Austin, going to A&M, going to Fayetteville. That's a tough schedule. Oklahoma, that is a tough schedule. I think they are talented. I don't know that they'll be better than they were last year.
Well, that makes you give more respect to what Saban did. Not only did he lose 10 or 12, 15 guys a year, he lost half his staff every year too, right?
Yeah, because with success comes turnover. I mean, half the guys in college football, our guys here, Sarkisian, coach for Saban. Kirby Smart was a Saban guy. Jimbo was a Saban guy. There are so many Saban guys. His tree is amazing. And so to be able to find the right coaches and find the right recruits, and I think recruiting is easier now because of the portal and the money, the NIL, but to be able to do it at a time when NIL wasn't a deal and still play for national championships only speaks to the greatness of Nick Saban. We'll see if Sark is a great coach. We know he's very good, but great coaches follow great seasons with other great seasons.
Cedric, going back to that over and under of 10.5, I mean, in one thing, it should be very reachable for a team that's this loaded. And the other thing is, they've got a tougher schedule than they did a year ago when they beat that number. Is the attrition, given the way that especially the back end of the schedule ends up, is that what separates the men from the boys in this Longhorns team compared to a very good one at a playoff team last year?
Yeah, it does. And Mississippi State coach Jeff Lebby said it best. He played in the Big 12 for Oklahoma, and he coached under Lane Kiffin. And Lebby said, it's not about weeks 3, 4, and 5. It's about weeks 10, 11, and 12. How good are you going to be on the back end when those injuries hit? Texas has got to play Georgia and Oklahoma back-to-back. Georgia coming in Austin after the OU game. That's not going to be easy. And that's always a physical game. So I believe that the ability to be great over time separates the men from the boys. I think that Sarkisian has a chance to be a great coach. He's in a great situation. He's got the richest school, willing to spend money. He's got an athletic director and a regent in Kevin Eltite. They've given him a blank check, and they're letting him write checks to get the best players and coaches possible. He's in a great situation. There's a reason that he didn't seriously consider Alabama. He knows he's got it good at Texas.
Cedric, all the noise surrounding Arch Manning and all that comes with that territory. It's clearly Quinn Ewers' team. He's the starting quarterback. I know Feinbaum made a comment the other day, got people going about how, Arch will be starting by the end of the year. And there's been little things like that. People just trying to ruffle feathers and troll, basically. But how much rope do you think there's anything about Arch Manning and the quarterback position or anything that is not just it's all in on Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, that's a good question because the one game I didn't mention, they're going to Michigan in week 2.
Yeah.
And I don't care that Coach Kaki's not there anymore or and the quarterback's gone, but it's still the big house, man. And so those are tough games. I think the leash might be a little longer than we might think, but the games are so tough. And you never had to worry about Quinn in a marquee game. He played well against Washington, played well against Oklahoma, played really well at Alabama. It's those other games. It's those games where you look up and it's 10-7 at home against Wyoming going into the fourth quarter. And he's like 7 out of 16. So those are the games where he comes in a little sleepy, and you can't afford to have those kind of games in the SEC because if that happens, you're going to get beat. You're going to get beat. Mississippi State is not a joke. That's a bowl team. And UTSA is a bowl team. So there are games where he's not going to be able to do that. They had a lot more experienced talent last year, and they were able to overcome. You got to remember, 29-26 to TCU, late fourth quarter stop. They're 21 all against Houston, where Dana Holgerson's in his last year. He gets fired. So there are games where they kind of wiggled off the hook. That hook is going to be a lot tighter this season in the SEC. They're going to have to be much better in first halves, and it starts with QB1.
Yeah,
and Arch Manning is waiting in the wings, and I don't know, if it comes down to it in a marquee game and Quinn doesn't have it, I think Sark will go to Arch. They have a lot of confidence in Arch.
And let's not forget, probably 9 of the last 10 years, last year's game with Kansas State would have ended up being a loss. But they found a way, remember, to survive inside their 5-yard line. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I didn't even bring that one up.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And those are the games that they would lose in the last 10 years, or at least some of them.
And you're right, Smokey. And there's a reason they grew up as a team. They have an experienced locker room. They had good senior leadership last season, and those are games they would have lost. But they figured out how to be a more mature ball club. They got a good coach who doesn't panic under pressure. As evidenced by they blew that double-digit lead at Bama, ends up scoring 21 points in the fourth quarter in Tuscaloosa, unheard of. And so, but every team is different, and we don't know if they've got the same verb that they will have. The hype says they're going to be 11-1, 12-0. I'm not a hype guy. I look at who they lost, and I look at who they're bringing back. Some guys going to have to grow up, man. And these guys grow up fast and things come together and the quarterback position is solid, whoever's playing it, they can win 11 games. They can win 10 games. But if they went 9-3 and finished just outside the playoff, it wouldn't shock me. I think 10 wins as an SEC team is going to get you into the CFP with 12 teams.
Cedric, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. I know it's been a long day. Appreciate you being on with us, jumping on, giving us time. Cedric Golden of the Austin American-Statesman. And so we take a break here, come around the corner, and it's Sam Kahn, who's been in Dallas at SEC Media Days, but also discussing a couple of others. I still want to go back to that. He was a part of that article on the Saban retirement and how it just splattered or splintered so many coaching staffs. So we have time, but we'll talk to him about what he has seen so far. He's there in Dallas today and tomorrow. A&M's on the clock tomorrow. Today it was Texas, Alabama, among others. Yesterday, Oklahoma was a part of that batch on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think Texas is super interesting. That's for sure. There's a lot of really interesting storylines just from the SEC entry alone, but much less you add in, Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning and just the talent and the foes that they now have to compete with on a regular basis. And just this year specifically, that Michigan game, which doesn't look as daunting as it did had J.J. McCarthy and a bunch of those guys come back, but still it's going up to the big house early in the year. And they got a fair draw when it came to the SEC. I think Oklahoma got the worst end of the pull of the original schedules, but man, 10.5 over-under first year in the SEC after losing all that talent. Like, damn, man. Like,
that means you could lose to Georgia, and that's it.
That's
if
it.
you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
anything else is you're
under. Yeah. So, that's big expectations for Texas. But, yeah, it's a very interesting year that's ahead for sure.
Yeah, my biggest question is, okay, you're banged up in Game 7. You've got to muscle it through. Is this team deep enough and good enough to do that when they don't have a team that's fresh into the Big 12 playing them? That they're the team that's fresh into a conference and they're playing someone who's used to that grind.
Well,
that's the question.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is they can go into their reserves in a tight game against Iowa State and go pull out another 4-star safety from the cabinet, and Iowa State couldn't do that. Iowa State had to kind of get the most out of what they had, and then have guys exceed expectations in a lot of cases to match your perceived talent level. And that was every matchup for them other than Oklahoma and maybe like a special non-con game. But they always had more talent than everybody, arguably, on paper, on the ranking sites. There's 7 teams in this league that have the exact same or close to it that they can reach into the cabinet just like you do and pull out another 4-star prospect to, go play linebacker. And it's not exactly that way, but that is the major difference is their reserves are still more than most, but it's evened out a lot more in this league than it is compared to, who they were playing previously.
They get Michigan after Harbaugh leaves, and their team is drained with talent too. Even though it's the big house, it's Michigan. There might be a little bit of a break there. And then you just wonder, is it going to be someone like a Mississippi State or a Kentucky that's in that mid-level.
Well, you can't. Kentucky's won 10 games here recently. You can't just sleepwalk on them. So yeah, it's going to be a week-to-week grind that they haven't experienced before. Same for Oklahoma, and it just depends on what you believe. Do you believe that that's not as big of a deal as it's made out to be, or are you a believer that it will be? And we're going to see, and that's what's going to be so much fun.
I hear us all saying it's a week-to-week grind like they've never seen. But it's not like they were that coasting through the Big 12, because even that schedule created problems.
I didn't say they did coast.
They weren't in a position where they appear to be with their roster now.
No, I didn't say they did coast. And my point is that they, like I just said a second ago, they're facing Florida, LSU, those types of teams that are more on par with them, resources-wise, talent-wise, stadium-wise, history-wise. Yep. They had one team in their league for the last 20 years that could match them in any of those aspects. One single team. And then off and on you had Nebraska for a little while, but that's been 20 years.
Yeah.
They're walking into a Lions den where there's 7 other Lions, whereas they had one. And that's, to me, and you don't have to face them all at once.
No.
But that's the grind. The grind, I respect Iowa State and Baylor's best teams and all that, but going Florida, Georgia, that's just, it's different. It's different from a talent perspective, and that's the grind that is different than what they've experienced before.
But for this year, with Michigan coming off a team that loses a lot of talent, still good. Florida's down, although we'll find that out. It does seem like it sets up pretty good, but even then the schedule's a bitch.
They've got a tough schedule, no doubt about it. There are Oklahoma got the tough
it could have been worse.
Yeah, if they were going around drawing straws as to who was going to get the worst schedule.
If you would have added any of these 3, Alabama, Tennessee, or Missouri to this schedule.
Yeah. It's way hard, but Oklahoma got the
LSU
got the shorter straw on that, right?
Yeah.
Oklahoma's schedule is a little bit tougher. Texas' schedule you can't sneeze at, and Texas is one of the few not just in the Big 12, SEC, whatever. Texas is one of the few teams in the country that you can't really criticize their scheduling. For all the years that have been Southwest Conference, Big 12, whatever. If they had a year where they didn't have a big non-conference game, it's because it got canceled for some weird reason.
They play Notre Dame, Ohio State. Everybody.
They play
Alabama.
Yeah, no, they always have that, and then they will play somebody else or two from Texas, and for example, UTSA this year, and even in recent years.
And this is a high compliment I pay Texas. If their schedule is ever bad, it's not their fault.
Yeah,
it's they've scheduled it. Well, it was intended to be good, and then all of a sudden
they just played Alabama back-to-back.
Yeah, but if they have a bad schedule, then everybody else sucks. It's not their fault.
Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, is next. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on when it comes to, whatever it is you're looking to get done when it comes to your vehicle, your car, truck, your SUV. They have got the hookup, whether you want to buy new, buy pre-owned, or just get your car worked on. And right now, they're all about celebrating American quality and American value during the red, white, and blue sale over at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got professional-grade power mixed with first-class luxury interior and a multi-pro tailgate. All the bells and whistles. The GMC Sierra right now is the best truck on the road. And Richard Carr is loaded with trucks during the red, white, and blue sale. Right now, you can save $9,000 on all 2024 GMC Sierra SLT trucks in stock with a 2010 or newer trade-in. So key word there, key phrase there, 2010 or newer trade-in. Save nearly $10,000 on the 2024 GMC Sierra SLT trucks. You can find Sierra trucks on the lot for under $40,000. You can find all their savings during the red, white, and blue sale on the red, white, and blue tags on the cars all over the lot. So there you go. The GMC Sierra is a great deal going on right now. They also have a lot fully loaded with not just Sierras, but also 100 highly inspected used cars and trucks, all special price during the red, white, and blue tag sale. And with a dozen lenders to choose from and get credit approved, they do that when others can't. 100% credit approval is always the goal over at Richard Carr. So check them out. For 25 years in Central Texas, they built a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Thank you for calling your local Marco's Pizza. We're turning up the heat with our new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Fresh, house-made dough is topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers. At only $5.99, this limited-time product is a hot deal. Add it to your order while you can. A Marco's team member will be with you shortly.
Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it, and that offer on the Reaper Cheesy Bread is available right now at any of the 5 Marco's Pizza locations in Waco, including Belmead, China Spring, Robinson, Woodway, and Hewitt. Order online at marcos.com. Call for a pickup or delivery. Marco's Pizza is turning up the heat with their all-new Reaper Cheesy Bread with fresh, hot, house-made dough topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers, and only $5.99 and for a limited time only. Marco's Pizza, the fastest-growing pizza brand in America. 5 locations in Waco, and the new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com. From their pasture to your plate, premium quality Texas farm-raised beef. Samantha, you've had more and more online auctions, and you have another one coming up in the middle of this month.
On July 17th, that will open our next steak auction, and it closes the next day on July 18th. About 48 hours of tomahawk, New York strip, flat iron, ground beef, both Angus and Wagyu. It's a lot of fun to get on. You just get on to bidonbeef.com, create an account, and it'll walk you through all the steps that you have to do in order to bid. Everything ships for free nationwide in the lower 48 states.
The flat iron steak to me is underrated. Fajitas, it tastes so good.
The flat iron is my absolute favorite. And then, of course, your tomahawk, that's just a showstopper. It's something exciting to put on the grill for everybody to see. Each steak is about anywhere from 3 to 4 pounds. I'm telling you what, it'll feed pretty much a whole family. A 4-pound tomahawk feeds the 6 of us.
The 48 states ship free. Go to TexasBeefHouse.com. Again, premium quality Texas farm-raised beef, Wagyu, Angus. It is amazing. July 17th and 18th, tomahawk, New York strip, flat iron, ground beef, Angus, and Wagyu. You really are doing these auctions more and more frequently.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of great feedback. A lot of people love to get online. The ending is what we call a horse race finish. So at 6 p.m. when the auction ends, if anybody has been bidding in that last 2 minutes, it keeps the auction open for 2 more minutes, and that continues until all bidding has stopped. So that's kind of the exciting thing to watch at the very end is, the timer reset because people are getting on there and they're making sure that they're getting that lot that they want. So this is your best bet to get the best price. And it's a price that you want to pay, not what we're setting the price. And you're getting it in bulk. So you're getting more than just one package of steaks. You're getting, depending on which lot, anywhere from 4 to 8 packages of steaks.
Go to TexasBeefHouse.com, July 17th and 18th, the auction. And you can find much more information. Bidonbeef.com. And don't forget the discount if you put hashtag Sick'em365.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go with Craig Smoke and Paul Catalina, David Smoke, and Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, who's at SEC Media Days in Dallas. And Sam, don't let us hang up on you without getting back to the story you guys did a week ago on the ramifications of Nick Saban's retirement. So how would you describe SEC Media Days? I don't know if this is your first time through, but I got a feeling it might be.
It is not. This is, I think, my 3rd or 4th time. I did it the first
2 years that Texas A&M was in it, but
That's
I haven't been here in almost 10 years because I'll be honest, the access is not as good as Big 12 is. So it's just so much more media, and I felt it was hard to get some real one-on-one time unless you're on Radio Row. So I haven't done it in a long time, but obviously it being here in the state of Texas, there was no way I was going to get out of it. And honestly, I will tell you guys, it doesn't feel as complete. I'm standing here on Radio Row, and you guys are not here. What is up with that?
Well, it was a shock to our system too, Sam.
Yeah, what's the guy's name? Is it Rob Dunlap or whoever, the media relations
Chuck
guy?
Dunlap, yeah.
Yeah.
We applied, Sam. Yeah. We applied and got turned down. There's just too many media requests, I guess, that they left us out in the cold. But it was not for a lack of effort.
It's their loss.
I'm gonna have to go talk to Chuck and be like, and make him hip to you guys and understand why you guys should be here, because you guys would fit right in with all these guys over here in the Omni. Because I'm looking at them all right now, and honestly, you guys are better than all of them.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Sam Kahn with theathletic.com. So anything from today that sticks out? I know Texas, Alabama, but UT was there, their first media days with as a member of the SEC.
Yeah, it was interesting because I came in wondering if Texas was going to get those questions that Texas A&M did 12 years ago about, well, are you ready for the big bad SEC? Because when A&M first got here, I remember it was really strange to listen to people ask the questions like, man, like they were going to a funeral or something, like, how are you guys going to compete? And I didn't really see people ask that as much as Texas. And I think that has a lot to do, obviously, with the success that program had last year, going to the playoffs, going to 12-2, winning the Big 12, and beating Alabama in Alabama the way they did. I think Texas has garnered a lot of respect, and I think you feel that here. You see people, they're not looking down on Texas. They're not thinking, oh, well, how are you guys going to come handle the SEC? Well, I think based on how they played last year against Alabama, that was a little bit of evidence. Now, that's one game, not 12. So it is a little bit of difference. So Sark was asked, how do you handle that grind? And I think he said his view is it's more mental than it is physical, because you have to get up for every game. You're not going to have games where you can just, we can, for Houston, for instance, like Houston was a game last year that they probably didn't play their best football, but they were still able to escape with a win at the last second. You can less afford to do that in the SEC because just the sheer amount of line talent, because you will get beat by a Mississippi State. Texas A&M can tell you firsthand. Ole Miss and Mississippi State have clipped them more times than Texas A&M would care to tell you, because A&M wasn't fully ready, and those things can happen a little bit in this conference. So I think overall there's a lot of confidence in Texas. There's a lot of respect that Texas is going to be a factor. And the guys they brought here, I think Quinn Ewers, Kelvin Banks, Jade Barron are just three of the guys that embody how good this Texas team could be.
Have you felt a little chippiness with, when you ask Texas A&M questions, and then tomorrow, obviously, you get A&M. Do you feel there'll be a little bit of that there already?
I think it'll be more on the A&M side. We'll see. I'd be curious to see. I have actually gone around and asked the players, because I wanted to know, we all care about this rivalry. Those of us who live in Texas have grown up watching college football in Texas. But these young men who are going to play in this game have not played in this rivalry and has not existed in football for the last 13 years. So I wanted to know, and I asked guys, does this game matter to you? How much does it matter to you? And I was pleasantly surprised to hear that they do care about it, and not surprised that they care about it, but surprised to know that it is something that's on their mind. And I think a lot of that has to do less with the Texas A&M dynamic, but more the fact that the guys on the other side are guys that they played high school football with or high school football against. All the guys that were brought here by Texas are Texas high school products. A lot of the guys that Texas A&M is bringing tomorrow are Texas high school products. So that brings a certain familiarity, and I think that's one reason why we all love that rivalry game. I asked Sark, what do you think about how much this game matters to them? And he kind of laughed like, oh, this game matters. But to him, it's not even a question. And that's going to be the interesting dynamic, too, with Texas and the SEC is they keep the Oklahoma rivalry. You add A&M back. And now you also have the Arkansas game, which, as we know, and anybody who saw that game in 21 when they went to Fayetteville and got hammered, Arkansas cares a lot about that rivalry. I can promise you that. And so I think Stark even said it. I think he said there are some fans out there that maybe hate Texas more than they love their own team, and I don't know if that was a shot at Arkansas, but I think there's an understanding, certainly from Texas' side, that those games matter a lot, and they're going to treat them as such.
Mm-hmm. Sam, you've covered A&M for quite a while. Do you think some of the and look, man, social media is social media. So like this stuff, A&M will run away from all this just kind of crazy about how A&M is going to react to Texas. How overblown? I mean, obviously they did not want this. They wanted to be exclusive. They wanted to be the only Texas team. But big picture, is that being kind of blown out of proportion, or do you really think there are those very extreme negative feelings on the part of A&M for kind of how all this has evolved?
I think just like anything, it's all on a spectrum. There's going to be a segment of the fan base that is going to feel very strongly and feel very negatively about the fact that Texas is back in the conference. But I think the vast majority of them, if you get them down, you look deep into their hearts, they're excited about that game this fall. Because you know why? Because it's a chance to actually win and prove yourself. It's a chance to throw all that talk and all the social media stuff and all the arguments all year about recruiting or conference supremacy that we used to have when they were in the SEC and Texas in the Big 12. You throw all that out because guess what? You can settle it for 60 minutes on November 3rd. And then the team that wins that game gets to hold those bragging rights for the next 365 days. And ultimately, that's what we want, right? We want competition. We want to go head-to-head against the rival, and we want to beat them. And that's, I think, so Texas A&M fans, are they annoyed that Texas came and followed them to the SEC? Of course. But I think most of them, when you get closer to that game, they are going to want it to win it so bad that it's going to matter. And I think Texas is going to feel the same way. Texas is going to go into Kyle Field knowing how hostile that environment's going to be, how loud it's going to be. And they're going to want to win that game, and they're probably going to have something on the line. Hey, heck, who's to say? Maybe Texas A&M has something on the line if their season goes right. I mean, that game could have some stakes in the postseason, which adds even more to it. So I think you're right that it is a little bit overblown. I think we sometimes live in the social media bubble a little bit too much. And I think the regular fan, especially the ones who are going to be there and those who have grown up with this rivalry, are just excited to know that it's going to continue.
Sam, if I had to pick a favorable SEC schedule, A&M's would be it. I mean, look, I know this is a team that's perpetually 8-4, but yes, they've got a really tough game right off the bat. It's not in the SEC, but it's Notre Dame. But as far as the ranked teams go, and the teams that everybody expects to be good, it's just three of them in Mizzou, LSU, and Texas. So if they can just win, a couple of those games against the ranked opponents and not, drop the ball like they have, which has been the problem against a team they're not supposed to beat, this could be a little bit exciting for Mike Elko.
I agree. And the funny thing to me is I feel like that Texas A&M this offseason has flown under the radar a little bit, which is something they haven't done the last few years, because we remember the number one recruiting class and Jimbo Fisher's argument with Nick Saban, and then Jimbo obviously on the hot seat. And A&M, I felt like, was perpetually in the headlines for a lot of different reasons, not necessarily related to their play on the field. That's changed this offseason. Elko and everybody in College Station, it's been very quiet. There's not a lot of noise being made out of there. And I think Elko wants it that way. I think that's by design, because I think what he wants is people not talking about A&M, kind of laying in the weeds and sleeping on them. Because you know what? That roster is still very talented. For all the guys that they have lost, they still have a lot of 4-star and 5-star recruits who have developed into really good players. They still have a lot of depth on that depth chart. They went and plugged the holes in the portal really well. I thought they've done a really good job of managing the roster this offseason. And if they win that Notre Dame game, I think that's going to wake some people up. I think that's going to let people know, hey, this team still has the potential to be good. And would it shock me if A&M ended up 10-2 at the end of this year? I don't think so. I think I would not be shocked at all if they were. I'm not saying that's what they're going to be, but I do think they have the type of high-end talent to do that. And that's what makes this Mike Elko debut season so fascinating.
So, Sam, I know that Oklahoma, the expectations are Oklahoma. There's a reason why they are who they are.
There's some real disrespect going on, I feel like, at this point, man.
I did not realize until we had a guest on, what was it, yesterday, that all 5 of their offensive linemen will be brand new. And then the transfer portal. But it's not they had the year 2 years ago that was not good in Venable's first year. Last year they bounced back pretty well. But it's almost as if I know where UT's coming in with all these expectations and what they were. It's not even that. It's almost as if, and Oklahoma's a part of this too. Should it be that way?
Yeah, it's fascinating because I agree with you, and I do feel like Oklahoma got a little bit of that, what I was talking about A&M 12 years ago. I think people are looking at OU and wondering, are you guys ready for this? And I think it's because even though they're a great program and they've been more dominant in the Big 12 than Texas has, you look at what Texas accomplished, and Oklahoma is still kind of coming out of it. I think there's still some memory of what happened in Brent Venable's first year. Obviously, they did a lot better last year, but I think there's a lot of uncertainty from outsiders who look at that team. But I do think they did a good job overall filling some of the gaps, and I will tell you, I'm a huge, huge Jackson Arnold fan. I think he is going to be an absolute star. I know he had some interceptions in that bowl game, but the raw talent is there. Watching him win a state or take his team to a state championship game and watching him compete, I think there's a reason why Dylan Gabriel's not there anymore. And there's a reason why Oklahoma fans are so excited about this guy. So if Oklahoma has a chance to break out, I think it's going to be because Jackson Arnold has made that jump from true freshman to, hey, I'm legitimately here and I'm going to lead this team to greatness. I don't think and I don't anticipate Oklahoma being a 10-win team or anything like that. But if they were to do better than people think and not be punching bag, wouldn't shock me. But I do think there is going to be an adjustment for Oklahoma fans that are used to, hey, winning the Big 12 or competing for a conference championship every single year. It's going to be a lot harder to do that here. It's just the fact of the matter. And maybe that's changing expectations because guess what? Winning a conference title is not going to be the end-all, be-all anymore in the sport because all that really matters now is do you get a playoff spot? And I do think long-term, regardless of how they fare in the conference title race, I think Oklahoma can be long-term in the position to be a contender for one of those 12 playoff spots.
I want to go back. Yeah, I want to go back to the access because there's hundreds and hundreds of people there. And there's 16 teams and there's a bunch of alphas. But we had 8 to 10 of the head coaches on at Big 12 Media Days, and it was a pretty good contingent. It was still a nice, large contingent in Las Vegas. So you're saying that there's not a lot of that on the side, one-on-one type stuff that you used to get with the Big 12?
I think with a Radio Row you can, but not for print guys. That was easier for me to get at Big 12. It's a lot harder to get a one-on-one. Like getting Sark one-on-one off to the side or maybe Elko tomorrow off to the side, that's going to be really difficult. And it's just kind of the nature of this thing. When this thing was in Birmingham at the Winfrey for so long, I remember every year they would announce how many media are here and the number. I don't know what the number is now. I don't know what it is this year, but I remember it's been as large as 1,400 media members here. That's a lot.
Yeah. I think
that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're talking one head coach for each school and 3 players. So, I mean, I understand why it is the way it is, but it makes it a little bit of a spectacle, and it's fun. I enjoy seeing everybody, but if you're trying to get something exclusive or something different from everyone else, that's really, really difficult.
Yeah, I think I saw a number a day or two ago. It was 1,500 credentialed media for SEC Media Days, which I think the Big 12 was like a third of that. And you know what? I'm okay with that because Las Vegas was great, Sam. I thought it was really well done and worked out really well. So, yeah.
Hey, I want to ask you one question before we say goodbye, and we do appreciate your time. And you can tell Chuck Dunlap that he made a mistake.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So you wrote the article, Bruce Feldman, Max, on the repercussions and the consequences staff-wise of Saban's retirement. When did you guys start working on that? How long did it take? And that was an exhaustive type, I guess you could say, project.
Yeah, it's funny. So I'll give you a little background on this. Max Olson, who you guys know well, Max has done these stories before. He did one about 10 years ago when Mac Brown got pushed out of Texas when we were both together at ESPN. And I always thought that was such a great story. And then him and Bruce a couple of years ago ran it back when the Egg Bowl, after the Egg Bowl where both coaches got fired afterward. They did one on that one. And so the day after Saban retired, I messaged both of them and I said, hey guys, this would be a really good time to bring that story back for the Saban retirement, because I bet you the after effects of this are going to be massive, more than anything we've ever seen. And so the day after he retired, which he retired on January 10th, so January 11th, Max started the spreadsheet and started filling out everybody on the Alabama staff. And then from then on, and Max is the MVP for this one because he did most of the legwork on the spreadsheet. And me and Bruce did our best to help him on tracking who's going where and what gaps do we need to fill. But it took months. Max for the next couple months was monitoring every staff move. And that sounds easy in practice, but when you think about some of the staff, we were going all the way down to quality control, GAs, nutrition, strength and conditioning, we're talking, administrative assistants for the head coaches. Not all those people have bios on the websites, and not all those people maybe announced in the news that they're moving. And so it took a lot of time just to get that part down. Once we got all that, then the actual reporting process, I think we probably talked to a couple dozen coaches, and the writing process. I think that whole process probably took a couple of months, but we started it the day after Saban retired, and then of course it ended up coming out earlier this month. And I was just happy to be a part of it. I'm really proud of what we produced, and like we said, it was 423 staff changes that were a chain reaction to the Saban retirement, which I think is more than any we've seen, including I think 6 or 7 head coaching changes when you include not just the head coaches that followed the Saban retirement, but also guys who left their head coaching position, like Kane Womack at South Alabama or Maurice Linguist at Buffalo, to be on the Alabama staff. So, and like you think about Maurice Linguist leaving Buffalo, that means 50 people on the Buffalo staff all of a sudden had an uncertain future. And that was what was fascinating to me, is that just because one head coach moves, dozens of people are affected. And it's not just those people, it's their families, their wives, their kids. They're all impacted by this because they're suddenly wondering, am I going to have a job? Do I have to move? What's going to happen? And those are people that are not paid as much as these coaches. And that was what was fascinating to me. I did the very last part of it about Charlie Rizzio, the head coach at Cisco Junior College, that he's a guy who's been a coaching lifer, who's been at Division II, Division III, high school, Pop Warner, and he got a promotion from defensive coordinator at Cisco to head coach at Cisco because the chain reaction from Saban's retirement eventually trickled down to Cisco, Texas. And that to me was the essence of the story, and what made it so fascinating, what made it so fun to work on. And I'm glad we got to be a part of it and we got to do it, because I thought it was really revealing about how interconnected this profession and this sport is.
Well, it affected Baylor's staff with Kapilovich, the offensive line coach, who had brought in 2 or 3 transfers, gotten a couple of nice commits, and then a week or 2 later, he's off to Alabama. So it affected a lot of different people. You're right. Paul, were you going to say something?
I just want to know who their chart and graphs guy is. That's some ornate charts and graphs, and they were quite good.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was collaborative effort on our. We have a really good graphic design team. They got a hold of Max's spreadsheet in early June, so they started working on that stuff. I think 6 weeks before we published it, and I was really pleased with how that looked and turned out. And you guys are right. Yeah, when Kapilovich went to Alabama, then Baylor hired Mason Miller from Tarleton. Tarleton went and hired Stephen Lee, who was the head coach at Cisco, and that was what led Charlie Rizzio to being promoted to head coach over there. And that's the thing that's fascinating, is like Nick Saban, who got paid $10+ million a year and has all these different issues that are way different from what Stephen Lee and Charlie Rizzio were dealing at Cisco, where they don't have a large support staff. They don't have a full strength staff. They have to go check the dorms and clean out rooms and do the academic advising all themselves. But at the end of the day, and this was the thing that Rizzio told me, he goes, look, at the end of the day, we're all football coaches. We all have problems. It's just that Nick Saban has Mercedes-Benz problems and we have Hyundai problems. And to me, I thought you couldn't put it much better than that.
Thank you so much, Sam. Appreciate it. Enjoy tomorrow. Sam Kahn, theathletic.com. He's at SEC Media Days with a bunch of great stories and angles for us here on this show, and you, the audience, too. So we'll come back with more.
I'm glad that we can, send a message through 2 different people about,
Brett McMurphy's the one that responded to my text yesterday. I said, hey, we're not there.
Look, can we get McMurphy and Kahn on this? You don't know. Yeah. Look, our tentacles, He's going to have to send us to be like, you guys got to come to Hoover or Atlanta next year. I can't keep getting threats.
Yeah, I mean, we tried. We made that very clear. We tried. I was the one that brought it up.
Yeah, you did.
Originally. I actually thought about it during the springtime when I was going over some notes, and I remembered that I started laying out, like, what order are the media days in and where. And I remember, oh, yeah, the SEC's in Dallas. And, oh, wow, that's the week after the Big 12. And I didn't think about it for, I don't know, a couple months maybe. And then I just randomly remembered it again one day in here. And I was like, oh, yeah, by the way, guys, like, have we thought about going to SEC media days? And we applied. We were still applied in time.
We're 2 months out.
Yeah, and they said no. So I know we're not the only ones that got denied. I don't know what the spacing's like there, but
it's plenty big. We've been there before.
I mean, it's
Omni?
1,500 something, 2,000 people. So I don't know what it looks like.
Their hallways are huge. Yeah.
It would have been nice to be there at the same time. I don't feel like we're missing out on a ton either, and so it's great to have those guys chime in and fill in the blanks where they can.
Yep. All right. So thanks to Sam.
The Oklahoma disrespect, though, I'm kind of getting really kind of sick and tired of it. At this
both
point.
of you guys have schools that are disrespected.
Yeah.
At least they're in a position where it matters.
Well, here's the thing:
you can't be talk about disrespected. Imagine being a Nebraska fan; they're disrespected because they've sucked for 10 years.
Yeah, but for Oklahoma, like, especially if you want to compare them to A&M, they're much closer to Nebraska than an A&M as far as accolades and accomplishments and things go.
Not even close. A&M,
and
not
they're
even
top five, arguably all time. If we want to talk Heisman's, Natties, All-Americans, conference championships, all that stuff. It is a different era, and they are not built money-wise like Texas or Texas A&M. Few are. But are they built well enough to compete with Alabama and Auburn and LSU and those types of schools? I mean, I think that'll really be the key indicator. And I do have concerns, but as we draw closer, I'm like, they won 10 games last year, right? And it gets treated as though they won like 7 and barely made a bowl because year one was. Yeah.
I thought they were like 9-4.
No, they lost to Arizona in the bowl game to a very good Arizona team. But, I mean, 2 years ago, Brent Venables' first year wasn't great by their standards, but they won 4 more games the following year. So it's like, as bad as it was maybe the first outing, they won 4 more games. That's not nothing.
How much of this is the coach? And it's not Stoops or
Lincoln
I
don't think people are all the way in on Brent Venables. I'm still like 1 foot out as far as I don't know that he's the guy to lead. I think he's the guy to lead them right now. I don't know that he's going to still be the guy in 10 years from now. I don't know if he's got that type of Stoops, longevity to him. But I do think he's better than I expected, at least 2 years in. And I am more coming around to that. Like, I think he knows what he's doing. I think that if they have an even playing field as far as their NIL's in order and all that's where it needs to be, it's still Oklahoma. Now, they're not going to win title after title after title like they did. And they didn't even do that towards the end of the Big 12 run. They weren't even winning conference titles regularly. But I do think they're going to be plenty good. And it's not like freaking, all due respect, like Missouri or Arkansas rolling in here, pals. Like, this is Oklahoma. It's still Oklahoma. Although I am prepared to, bring it down a notch and expect it to not be at its peak all the time because of just the sharks that they're swimming with nowadays.
Okay.
I think the difference between Texas and Oklahoma right now, legitimately, with them going in, is probably about 7 players that Texas has that Oklahoma doesn't.
And a belief in their NIL and just how they can kind of do all that stuff.
So the gap is not 20 players like it was 2 years ago.
Oh, you beat them last year.
Yeah, last year.
Exactly. So it's not like,
which is completely overlooked. It's like TCU beat
like
Michigan.
their 4-game improvement,
So it's like, it was a crazy game, but they beat them.
Again, like 7 guys. Okay. Like they probably have the 7 guys that make them the deeper, more elite team. But make no mistake, Oklahoma's not like Brent Venables isn't walking in the locker room going, oh God, these guys are terrible. My offensive line weighs 210 pounds. This is awful. That's not what he's doing.
I mean, offensive line, if you have concerns with that and Jackson Arnold being the first-time quarterback for the most part, not like his first time seeing action or anything, but like it's his team for the first time. So I understand where the concerns come from that standpoint. But I just think in general, not necessarily speaking to this year specifically, but over the long haul, I still think Oklahoma is going to be Oklahoma and hold their weight. And it might not mean as many conference titles, certainly, but I see this move as a good move for them in the long run. And if I'm wrong about that and they're winning 7 games regularly and that's just kind of what they become, well, then we can revisit that. But they've pretty much made it in every decade except for the 90s. So I think they're going to find their way here as well.
All right. Would either one of you, we're not going to show the tweet because we can't use one of the words in the tweet. I don't know if anybody in the chat room saw this or not, but there was a UT fan, and I don't have the names of the receivers.
You love this tweet, man.
Oh my
like,
God.
I don't understand. It's just a random tweet.
A UT fan who I think A&M picked up a commitment of a wide receiver, and there was still another one on the table that was between Texas and A&M. And he said, I will cut off my if A&M gets both of them.
They did.
Well, last night, the second one committed to A&M. So when you put that up, it's out there.
Yeah,
Paul, you had
it's
to do
not
it.
like it's not like it kicks. First of all, there's not many things that I would do that for. Like, even if the asteroid was coming to Earth and the only thing that could stop it was me hurling my dismembered beloved friend at it, I'd be like, sorry guys, it's got to be somebody else.
Yeah, nobody's doing that. I mean, that's the part of at the same time though, it's Twitter, so people just say it's like verbal trash.
The message board geniuses.
Yeah, it's like I'd do this if we don't get this guy, and nothing ever happens.
I take it to the point where he thought there was no way in hell that they were going to get both wide receivers, and they did.
And if he even thought for a second, he also knew he wasn't going to do that anyways.
No,
so who
we're
cares?
going to bring him on the set.
But I will say this. If you were upset about your school not getting recruits in modern college football, just wait a minute.
Yeah, no.
Just wait a minute.
Yeah, there's a long way to go. And
Just
it's
wait a
one
minute.
school.
Dylan Edwards example of just wait a year and he might be back in your
So
good graces.
That was on, let's see, that was on Board Geniuses on Twitter.
Yeah, which combs message boards for the dumbest posts that they can find, and there's one of them is somebody offering to, take off their manhood over a couple of teenage boys not committing to the school they like. So not dealing with the biggest brains in the world over here.
So there we are with that. There was one. Oh, we have to show the replay. Do we have that, Garrett?
I got it ready. Let's do it.
So earlier today, and then we'll have the top five. Earlier today, this goes back maybe a month and a half or so ago when we started to have a surge with our subscribers. It had gotten stuck there for a while. And then all of a sudden it was 29 and 35 and 38. And then Paul made the comment that I will do a keg stand if we get to 50. And I think all of us thought maybe by the early part of football season that might be the case. Well, it was 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So here is earlier today, for those of you who missed it, I know JG and a few others came in late. Here,
I'm going to properly count this time and see what it really would be. I'm going to talk over it, but I'm going to Mississippi this to see what it really is, because that was part of the problem with the original run was it just happened so quick that it was like, one,
I barely remember it.
Yeah.
Okay. You are.
It's 7 seconds. It's what?
No, I just saw how you glanced at Craig. And your head looks like a bobblehead right now.
Look, I'm saying Emory did science on it. It's 7 seconds.
No, there's a glaze on your face.
No, yeah. I mean, I've had. I know people think I've had about 4 or 5 glasses of water. I've had some pizza. I brought some cheese to help me.
Water with beer flavoring.
Yeah,
I think is what he said.
Have you put beer in that mug once?
I did right after.
Yeah. So you've had
Yeah.
Here is the video of Paul Catalina living up to the bet that he put about 50,000 subscribers. Is there?
I don't think there's audio.
Okay. There's no audio.
Oh,
okay.
there we go.
So there's Paul. They thought that's Jack McKenzie. Here comes Emory in there somewhere. Now, they had apparently prepped it, right? Whatever you want to call it.
Maybe we let it sit too long. It was like 20 minutes or so, but, I mean, it was prepped. I mean,
here we go.
All right, here we go.
Paul's up.
Yep.
Is this regular speed? Yeah.
Yep.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. No,
I think Emory's trying to get a better job.
Yeah.
So
we'll go back to 5. All right.
All right. Let's settle in the
Jack is
middle.
cracking
5.5 to 6 is where we ended up there.
Look, Paul's stoned, beer stoned. There you can see he had a bunch of foam that got down in the stomach, which could create all sorts of.
19-year-old Paul is looking on in shame right now.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
I did come across the real reason that I think I did not do as well. at 15 seconds. So
the fact that you're 44?
44, no. But, like, one of the big factors I didn't take into it, before to get me to a keg stand, like before when people start doing them, I was already like 5, 6, 7, infinity beers deep. So, like,
I was going to say, you needed like 10 to warm up to do the keg stand is what you needed.
Yeah. Well, that I cannot do anymore either. And then, like, if he wanted me to do that, I'd have been done at 3:30 and I had to call an Uber to bring me home.
We should have gone and gotten like an 18-pack of Keystones and had you nice and lathered up to do the keg. I mean, that's what you really need to do prep-wise.
Just sit here and drink. They brought the keg at 2 o'clock. From 2 to 3:20, I should have been sitting here pounding beers out of solo cups.
Yeah, because then the whole stop sign just goes away.
Yeah,
you just power through it.
Is that still cold?
Probably not ish. I mean,
And for those who know, Emery, how old are you? 22. Okay, 22, so he can take it home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the most popular guy in the neighborhood.
We don't waste on this show.
No.
We're not going to waste good beer.
I can't even remember the last time I had keg beer.
From our
anytime you go to a restaurant, you get it on draft.
Yeah, you do.
But I mean, like,
but not like solo cup to the nozzle.
These,
so
honestly,
Paul, who do we need to thank for the setup here?
Southern Roots. Southern Roots, absolutely. We've been there a few times for Baylor events.
Baylor's had a couple of media mixers. Yeah.
They have really good food there. The beer is delicious. Like it's I can honestly say this is the most delicious beer I've ever keg standed before. Usually it was the stuff that was on special, which means they're overloaded on
Natty Light, baby.
So Emery, what was it? You were a Busch. What Busch beer? That used to be
Busch Light.
Shout out to the Iowa State fans. They love that stuff.
That used to be one of the best commercials on TV.
Yeah. But also, thank you to a new sponsor we have called Cold Break. They sell kegerators. We should have had a Cold Break here. Emery wouldn't leave. He would just bring a sleeping bag.
Is that the one that's just like it surrounds it?
Yeah, they have several different products.
Yeah.
One of them can surround it. One of them is just like cooling tubes.
Who's carrying this to the car?
I mean, that's going to be Emery and Garrett.
Hell, Emery will put it over his shoulder, knowing what's in it.
Yeah.
All right, so there was the replay of Paul Catalina living up to the bet.
He's a man of his word. Yeah, we got the 50,000. He said he would do that, so it's done, and he's relieved. And I'm
relieved.
Move on.
Now, I haven't checked any lately. Well, I mean, what are you looking?
You're just a stir. You are an S stir, and
yes.
And you're attempting to stir more here. I just know what you're up to.
No. I read the tweet or the text earlier before you did it. I said
from my wife.
Yeah. No. Yes. From Amanda.
Yeah.
The original text was, if Paul bruises himself or his ego, I don't want to hear about it. He is your responsibility. Like all of a sudden, you're my responsibility. That's a big part of that's a large chore for me. And then I just responded, and I thought it was very sweet. I just said, he didn't die. I don't care. I don't want to know.
Yeah, not surprised at all.
And here's the thing: she won't admit it. I'll stir this up. I know she was watching live.
Yeah, I don't know. She can stick to her guns pretty well.
Yeah,
it is. She's also.
So what's it going to be when you get home tonight? Quiet, awkward?
No. We've talked since then. I knew that from about 3:30 to 4, she wasn't going to check on me. But then once it passed, I'd be
then she
I mean, it's over now. I'm not doing. That's the last keg stand of my life. Clearly, the beer gods have told me it's over for you.
And we're leaving your car here. We'll drive you back home.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do all that. Okay, coming up next, Paul Catalina and the top 5.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels. Drive the all-new 2024 Grand Cherokee 4XE or Wrangler 4XE today. Lease payments start at just $589 a month or finance for 2.9% for 84 months. Experience legendary Jeep performance with cutting-edge hybrid technology. Hurry, only at Allen Samuels in Waco. See dealer for details.
Come by. Let's be friends. Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Hello, how are you? That is probably how I will sound after I do this keg stand. Big surprise, this segment is pre-recorded. There's a keg sitting right here that as of the time you watch this, I will have done hopefully at least a 15-second keg stand on. So I just decided to give you a drunk hello because that's what you get from me for later day. See, right now I may even sound it. I'm just drunk thinking about it. That's how nervous I'm about this keg stand. Of course, this is not brought to you by the keg stand, and thanks to our friends at Southern Roots, by the way. This is brought to you by Texas Beef House. Go to TexasBeefHouse.com. Use our promo code SICK'EM10. Today, top 5 SEC storylines as we're in the midst of SEC Media Days, and we've talked about it a lot on the show today. Number 5, is there a Bama drop-off? And if there is, what's that drop-off? Is this a 9-3 or an 8-4 team this year as they adjust to not having the Saban-level depth? In a year or two, they'll have Kalen DeBoer depth, which is pretty good depth, and they'll probably be really good. And they still have Jalen Milroe. They still have a lot of really good players. But is Bama not there competing for the conference title in the last 2 weeks because they might have too many losses? I think that's a distinct possibility. I don't know what lies in store for them because we haven't seen this Bama in 17 years of a coaching change. Number 4, will someone surprise the league? Is it A&M? Is it Mizzou? Maybe not be much of a surprise. Is it Tennessee? Is it Kentucky or Vanderbilt? Diego Pavia is coming to Vanderbilt. They might win some games. They might be bowl eligible again. You don't know under Clark Lee. There's always someone in the SEC that's in every league that's better than everybody thought. Who that's going to be is anybody's guess. Garrett, you thought it was going to be Oklahoma? Very good chance. Yeah. I'm going to say Kentucky might surprise some people. They can. I think Kentucky might surprise some people, and I wouldn't be surprised if A&M surprised some people because they're still got a lot of talent. and they got a much more efficient coaching staff. But we'll see. A&M at 9-3 would be a surprise. A&M at 8-4 would not be a surprise. That's their default mode. That's where they are. Like when you buy the A&M phone, it comes on 8-4. You have to change the settings to get to something else. Number 3, is it time for the Lane Train? Is this a legitimate playoff team? It feels like it might be, given as much talent as they have. Jackson Dart coming back. And when you talk about the best quarterbacks in the country, quite often Jackson Dart's a little lower on the list, but he has probably more starts and more numbers than most of them. He's got a lot of wins under his belt. He got really good last year when they brought in Spencer Sanders to push him and Walker Howard as the future. So, look, if Ole Miss doesn't do it this year, I don't know what they're doing with,
it's now or never.
Yeah, Walter Nolan and all those other things. But it might be time for the Lane Train in the SEC. Number 2, does Billy Napier have the same office in 2025? This is a big one because Florida is a name brand program, not just in the SEC, but nationally. Does he have enough to get it done with the toughest schedule in the history of any sport ever? I feel confident saying that. I don't even know if it's the toughest sport in the history, the toughest schedule in the history of any sport ever. But I feel like if you compared it to most, they'd be like, this is absolutely brutal. Like, honestly, their easiest game is against A&M and UCF. Those are not easy games in Miami. Like, those are their 3 easiest games that are not, the FCS gimme. I mean, there's a legit chance this is a 2-10 team. And Mississippi State's probably their easiest one. And again, I don't think that's going to be all that easy. It's the SEC. Like, man, by the way, this is totally me. Totally me. I mean, there are a lot of other pictures and GIFs I could have used. I mean, but when I saw this one, I had no choice. My hands are tied. I mean, what else am I supposed to do? Number 1, how do the newbies fare? And look, this one is a very funny GIF of Texas. Texas is probably going to fare pretty well. They're loaded for bear. How does Oklahoma do? Garrett's surprise team in the SEC this year. That is the big story. How well do you fit in and how quickly? Remember, A&M's first season in the SEC was probably their best season.
And Mizzou.
And the SEC. Same with Mizzou. So maybe that's the way it goes for Texas and Oklahoma. Texas is a legit playoff contender, a legit national championship contender. That's who they are. But what is Oklahoma? Or does the brunt of this schedule get to both of them? I don't know. If it's really that much better, like the SEC says it is, maybe they won't be as good. Now, I don't think that. I think they'll both be fine. Texas better than Oklahoma, but you never know. But how they fare is the big story in the SEC this year, according to this guy right here, Paul Catalina. This has been the Top 5. We're back to wrap it up. I hope I'm alive.
Yeah.
And I am.
Paul is alive. He survived the keg stand. The chat room was great today from the beginning. We kind of tiptoed into that, and then all of a sudden, bam, Paul's being lifted up in the air, and we know the ending was with the 5.5 seconds or 6 at the most. It was not 7, despite what Emery was saying. Garrett, great job. Thank you very much.
You.
And got the replay. Emery Winter's already working on 365 Sports Tonight, which is at 10:30 on the CW here locally. I saw where Paxton made the comment. He goes, I wish I could get the CW in Waco to watch the replay of the show. It's really good. I think I get more comments on that than I could have ever expected at HEB or wherever I might be. Also, Jack McKenzie, Craig Smoke, and Paul Catalina. For those of you in the chat room, those who watch and listen, but we don't ever hear from you other than the fact you're one of the 53,000 plus subscribers. Thank you for your time. Hit the click and like button if you don't mind. I'm David Smoke. Have a great night. Tomorrow again at 3. Have a great night.